Chapter 1930. Monayan left. Following that, Yijikyu said, "Long Chen, it's also time for me to go." Long Chen was startled by that. Tang Wan'er cried out, "Big sister, you can't go. We still haven't had a chance to talk." I entered the yin-yang world under my master's orders to search for the heavenly ice crystal. It's one of the requirements for me to advance to life star flawlessly and awaken my manifestation. I've found the heavenly ice crystal, so I have to return and prepare to break through. I don't want to go either, but you've also seen how powerful Huo Lian was after advancing to life star. We are parting now so that we can stay together in the future. The Divine Ice Palace is a land of bitter cold, and it's not a good place for non-ice cultivators, or I'd invite you to come, said Yijikyu helplessly. Can you really stay with us in the future? The Divine Ice Palace has agreed to it, asked Tang Wan'er. Yes, my master has promised me that as long as I advance to life star and awaken the ice divine sword, she won't restrict my freedom. Only then did Meng Qi and the others relax. Meng Qi cast a glance at Chu Yao and Tang Wan'er. The three of them backed up a bit to leave some space for Long Chen and Yijikyu to talk alone. We've just reunited only to part again. Long Chen bitterly smiled. From the moment Yijikyu had arrived, all throughout the bloody battles they had gone through, they hadn't said more than 10 lines to each other, but now they had to part. He was very unwilling to leave things like this. It's fine, we won't be apart for long this time. We'll be reuniting soon, said Yijikyu. Yijikyu normally had an icy tone to all her words, but now there was a touch of warmth. She took the initiative to hold Long Chen's hand. However, the instant she held his hand, she released it. Frost had covered Long Chen's hand in an instant. Sorry, my ice spirit body hasn't fully awoken, and I still don't have complete control over my energy, apologized Yijikyu. Long Chen flexed his fingers, he smiled. The ice spirit body really is amazing. I look forward to when you've fully awakened it. On one hand, he looked forward to seeing her so powerful, while another reason was that he hoped that she could control her energy. Otherwise, it would be a pain to be turned into an ice crystal every time they touched. Not sensing any petty thoughts from Long Chen, Yijikyu spread her arms and gave him a short hug. However, Long Chen was covered in frost after that. Even his hair had turned white. That appearance was startling and funny. Long Chen bitterly smiled and circulated his flame energy, restoring his appearance. Hopefully, in the future, they wouldn't feel a conflict between their flame energy and ice energy. Goodbye, take care. Yijikyu said goodbye to everyone. She didn't want to go, but she had to. Monayan and Yijikyu were both gone, and Cloud flew through the air with the Dragon Blood Legion on her back. They used this time to start recovering. They hadn't had time to heal ever since that battle in the yin-yang world. They hadn't just used up all their energy, but their nerves had also been on their highest alert all this time. Now that the crisis had passed, they felt lightheaded. Some of the healers fainted. The Dragon Blood cross slash at the end had sucked away all of their energy as well to increase its power. Everyone began to recover, while Long Chen also sat down and closed his eyes. He didn't need to recover his spiritual yuan because his physical body was still in the midst of strengthening. When his body had first been restored by the dragon scale, that had just been the start. His flesh and his bones were still tender, and it wasn't a good time for him to be fighting. Having forced himself to fight, he had caused his body to crumble. Now his body had to heal by itself, and even the life energy of the primal chaos space wasn't able to help. He could only use the energy of the dragon blood to heal. Even once his body looked healed, he found that it was still being torn apart and healed over and over again. Long Chen asked Evil Moon what was going on, and Evil Moon said that the Azure Dragon's essence blood was just that powerful. His current physical body was unable to handle its power, so the dragon blood was constantly tempering his body. It would only stop once his physical body was strong enough to handle the Azure Dragon essence blood. Evil Moon, you're from the dragon race. With your years of wisdom and experience, you should know the origin of that dragon scale, right? Asked Long Chen. Fuck, have you gotten into a habit of conning people? Even when you talk, you have to be a conner. If I can't answer, you'll be cursing me for being ignorant and living all my years for nothing. Raged Evil Moon. Definitely not. I'm humbly asking for your wisdom. When did you get so sensitive? Are you a woman? Long Chen was speechless. He had just been trying to praise Evil Moon. Do you believe me when I say I'll tell Meng Qi and the others about what you just said? Threatened Evil Moon sinisterly. No way. When did you become so shameless? After being with a shameless person like you for so long, I feel like I'm growing further and further apart from the grand dragon race. If this continues, I won't have any integrity left. Evil Moon sighed deeply. It's fine though, you were chosen by a descendant of the true dragons. Being infected a bit by you is something I can handle. I'll tell you this. Whether it's your cultivation base or your power level, you are completely unqualified to subdue that dragon scale. Rather than saying you subdued it, it would be more accurate to say that the Azure Dragon reverse scale chose you. What are you talking about? What am I talking about? And I thought you were smart. Could it be that you didn't notice it? In the end, the scale clearly let you off, or you would have died 1,000 times over. As for why it would do that, I don't know, so don't ask me. If you really want an explanation, then here. It's all thanks to your dogshit luck, said Evil Moon. In truth, it really was unable to explain how this had happened. Long Chen should have died. Long Chen suddenly recalled that, at the final moment when he had subdued the dragon scale, he felt like he had vaguely heard some kind of sigh. At that time, he had thought that he was imagining things, but now that Evil Moon said this, he didn't think he had imagined it. However, this kind of thing wasn't something that could be figured out just by thinking about it, so he gave up. He calmly sensed the changes in his body. It was still growing stronger. His physical body was already 10 times stronger than before he had subdued the dragon scale, yet it was continuing to strengthen. According to Evil Moon, the Azure Dragon Essence blood wanted to strengthen his body to the point that it matched the strength of the blood. Thinking of that, Long Chen felt some fear. He had been too arrogant this time. Evil Moon had been right. If the Azure Dragon reverse scale hadn't chosen him, then no number of lives would have been enough. However, there were no absolute rights or wrongs either. If he hadn't done something like this, possessing the courage to challenge a supreme existence, the Azure Dragon reverse scale might not have chosen him. Long Chen shook his head. If he couldn't figure it out, then he shouldn't waste time thinking about it. To Evil Moon, he said, I wanted to kill Xuanhuan, but you didn't let me. Why not? If I had taken out the heaven-flipping seal, I would have had a 50% chance of killing him, and then I still would have been able to escape. That was one point that Long Chen had been confused on. It had been a great chance, but it had been wasted. He was a bit irritated. Leave it. When you attacked, you were unable to shake Xuanhuan's golden fate lines. There was no way you would have killed him. Do you not even know about your own luck? Snorted Evil Moon. Golden fate lines. Long Chen was startled. The Eastern Wasteland Bell had also said such a term in the immemorial path. The favorites of heaven and earth were looked after by the heavens and blessed with great luck. If two people were to fight with around the same power level, they had to be able to rattle the other side's golden fate's lines if they wanted any chance to kill the other. If their golden fate lines didn't budge, then there was no chance of killing them. Some kind of unexpected external power would always appear. In that kind of situation, even if you had taken out the heaven-flipping seal, it would have been useless. The heaven-flipping seal has to manifest its true body to unleash its full power, but because its true body is so huge, those Nether Passage experts would have an easier time blocking it. Even if the Nether Passage experts didn't block it, the Brahma Divine Diagram would have. Your attack only posed the slightest danger to Xuanhuan. You wouldn't have killed him, and you would have wasted the heaven-flipping seal's energy. The more energy it can store up, the greater its intelligence will grow and the greater control it will have. You shouldn't use it unless you have no choice, or each time it attacks, it will have to restart. Letting it first have more energy is better. The heaven-flipping seal is stronger than you imagine, warned Evil Moon. Long Chen's heart shook. It seemed he had underestimated the heaven-flipping seal. Its origins were not ordinary, or Evil Moon wouldn't give it such an appraisal. A day and night passed. Quite a few people had recovered to 50%, and they were much more relaxed. Boss, do we have no home to return to? Asked Xuanhuan. Long Chen scolded. What nonsense are you talking about? As long as our brothers and sisters are present, wherever we go is home. Furthermore, being expelled this time is something that I discussed with the Xuan master. This is the only way for us to leave without misgivings. Fuck, now that we have this freedom, your boss is going to go big with you. Hearing this, Xuanhuan and the others' eyes lit up. They understood Long Chen far too well. There would be some big movements happening soon. However, before this, I'll bring you to a good place. Long Chen smiled. He gave Cloud a location and they began rushing away. Chapter 1931. Welcome to the skyscraping world. When the Dragonblood Legion arrived, the leader of the original devil race, Yue Zioqian's mother, personally came to greet them. Senior is too courteous. We came here to seek refuge. For you to treat us so grandly will embarrass us. Long Chen smiled. In truth, even if Long Chen didn't return to the Xuanhuan Dao sect, he still had several other places he could go. One was the Wine God Palace. If he sought protection with the Wine God Palace, no one would dare to touch him. However, that wasn't too suitable. The Wine God Palace was supposed to be separated from the rest of the world's struggles. Long Chen didn't want to draw the Wine God Palace into the whirlpool around him. He could also bring the Dragonblood Legion to the spirit world. However, the barrier between the spirit world and the martial heaven continent was very powerful. Each time they moved between them, it would take a huge amount of energy from the life god tree. So the skyscraping world was the best place for Long Chen to go right now, so he had brought the Dragonblood Legion here. However, he was a bit overwhelmed that Yue Zihan would personally welcome them. There is no need for such courtesy between us. However, if I didn't show my friendship to the #1 Legion of the Martial Heaven Continent's first visit, I would appear too rude. Next time you come, I won't personally welcome you. Yue Zihan also smiled, appearing poised and graceful. Yue Zioqian stood behind her. The two of them were like sisters. "Aunt, why didn't I see the great prophet?" Long Chen looked around. Everyone he had seen on his last trip here was present, except the old prophet who had touched his face. Yue Zioqian's eyes reddened slightly. Last time, her grandmother had tried to see the future of the original devil race from Long Chen's body. She had used a divine ability, but the backlash had exhausted all her life energy. She had already passed. "Oh, she is still in seclusion and cannot come out to see you," said Yue Zihan apologetically. "I was just curious. After all, as the junior, I have to greet her, but since she's still in seclusion, I'll have to wait for another time to pay my respects," said Long Chen. However, he definitely sensed something off with Yue Zioqian's expression. But this wasn't a matter for him to pursue. "Everyone please come in." Yue Zihan waved a hand, indicating that everyone could enter. "Senior, we know you're very busy. There's no need for you to waste time on keeping us company. Yue Zioqian can show us around," said Long Chen. "That's good too. You youngsters probably have more words to say. I wouldn't want you to feel constrained by my presence. Zioqian, you're the host. Make sure to carry out your duties properly." Yue Zihan seemed to see through Long Chen's intentions. Due to her presence, Long Chen and the others were more reserved. Leaving things to Yue Zioqian, she left with the original devil race's elders. "Isn't it said that all the original devil race's men look like bloodthirsty fiends and monsters? Why don't they seem like that at all?" Only once Yue Zihan and the others were gone did Guo Ran curiously look at the other original devil race experts. Xia Chen immediately pushed him, meaning that he should shut up. That was too rude. Long Chen smiled slightly and said, "We're all one family, so you don't need to have such misgivings. The original devil race that you know is a fabricated story. There are many things in this world where the truth has become false, and what is false has become truth. It's difficult to determine the difference. History is always written by the winners. They glorify themselves and make their enemies ugly. So true and false must be determined by ourselves, not just by listening to others. Even what you see might not be true, so use your heart to judge and your head to analyze. That's too complicated, we'll just follow boss. Once boss becomes a god, we'll follow and become gods as well, becoming a divine army. If boss becomes a devil, we'll become devils too. As long as our lives are still as brilliant as now, who cares? Boss, what do you think of this bootlicking of mine?" chortled Gu Ran. "All right, stop messing around. We'll rest here for 3 days. Once those 3 days are up and everyone's back in peak condition, we'll be going to a trial by fire," said Long Chen. "What trial by fire?" Long Chen looked at everyone. "Before advancing to the Life Star realm, I want to excavate everyone's potential once more. Our skyscraping world has a devil blood pool that can replicate a clone of you. It will possess the same power, the same techniques, and the same spiritual yuan as you. Hence, you'll be fighting against yourselves. Before this, you were facing enemies and you had the confidence to win for sure. But this time, you'll be facing yourselves. The stronger you are, the stronger your clone will be. I'm giving you a mission. Each person must be able to defeat themselves 3 times before breaking through to Life Star realm." 3 times? That's impossible. Yue Zioqian was startled. Beating oneself required great bravery. After all, you were fighting yourself. You might even lose yourself and be unable to tell who was who. It could easily form a heart devil, and you might even feel an urge to kill yourself. The trial of the devil blood pool wasn't to beat yourself, but to make you face your heart devil. Those who could defeat themselves were too rare. Even Yue Zioqian had challenged it several times at the beginning and only managed to have a draw. As for other experts, they were judged by how long they could last. that would determine how strong their mental realm was. Lasting an incense stick's worth of time was the passing grade. 2 incense sticks worth of time was excellent. 3 incense sticks worth of time made you a genius that would be heavily favored. Those who could last over 2 hours were the pillars of the original devil race. Yue Xiaoqian had lasted 4 hours each time, making her the greatest genius of the original devil race in many years. However, even she was unable to defeat herself. For Long Chen to want the Dragon Blood warriors to defeat themselves, and 3 times at that, was essentially heaven-defying. "It's fine, I believe that they can do it," said Long Chen. Guo Ran's expression suddenly changed. He seemed to foresee a miserable plight for himself. 3 days later, after resting, everyone other than Long Chen had finally recovered to their peak state. After consecutive life and death battles, their mental realms had once more advanced. Their cultivation bases were at the peak of soul transformation, and many people already felt the barrier to the next realm weakening. They already possessed the ability to attack the life star realm. During this time, Long Chen told Yue Xiaoqian to have the Huyun sect send a message to the old man, telling him that he was safe and to be at ease. As for Jianying's side, she had Li Tiangxuan, and Li Tiangxuan understood Long Chen. He wouldn't worry about him. However, the old man might very likely be searching for him. With his temper, he might just charge straight over to Pill Valley and cause a fuss. Although the old man had a fiery temper, he was very protective and willing to sacrifice his own life for his children. Long Chen was worried about something happening to him. He told the old man that they had found a good place to go into seclusion, and that they were preparing to attack the Life Star realm. Long Chen had no choice but to lie. If the old man knew that he had run to the original devil race and couldn't return home, he might explode in fury. After 3 days of rest, the Dragon Blood warriors were completely refreshed. They were now standing in front of a giant blood pool. Yue Xiaoqian introduced it, explaining that it was a relic from ancient times. Back then, the original devil race had slaughtered their enemies of the devil races, refining their devil cores and devil blood to create this miraculous devil blood pool. "Who wants to go first?" asked Long Chen. "Boss Gu Yang definitely is unwilling to miss this chance. I won't fight against him over it, or that would be a provocation toward the Dragon Blood Legion's #1 captain," said Guo Ran immediately. Guo Ran's arm had shot up, and at first people thought that he was actually volunteering, making them wonder if the sun had risen from the west today. However, he ended up volunteering Gu Yang. Gu Yang's expression was dark. By calling him the #1 captain of the Dragon Blood Legion, he had no choice but to go. Gu Yang rubbed his bald head and took a deep breath. Clenching his teeth, he stepped forward, feeling great pressure. During these 3 days, he had learned more about the Devil Blood Pool and its abilities. He knew that for other people, this trial wasn't to be beaten. Normally, people's talent was judged by how long they lasted, as defeat was set in stone. Being the first one to challenge this trial, his results would affect the rest of the Dragon Blood Legion's morale. Not only that, but hundreds of experts from the original Devil race were also watching. They were looking at them with worshipful expressions, wanting to see the power of the Martial Heaven Continent's #1 Legion. This was a rare opportunity for them. In this kind of scenario, being defeated would be embarrassing, so he couldn't be defeated. "Have you prepared yourself? If you're ready, then let's start." On the other hand, Long Chen was very relaxed. Gu Yang took out a spear. This was a battle spoil. It was a very good half-step divine item, and the weapon he was most used to. "Start." Gu Yang took a deep breath. Yue Xiaoqian pointed a finger. A blood-colored light came from the devil blood pool, enveloping Gu Yang. He vanished, and a giant bubble appeared in the pool. An ancient martial stage was present within it. Gu Yang's figure appeared on the martial stage. Not far from him, blood bubbled and a figure gradually condensed. It was another person who looked identical to Gu Yang. "They really are the same. Even the brightness of their heads is identical," exclaimed Guo Ran. Like this, when the battle started, they wouldn't be able to tell who was who. Tang Wan'er chuckled. Even at such a tense time, Guo Ran was able to crack a joke, but it was true. The first things their eyes were attracted to were the 2 bright suns inside the bubble. Gu Yang's radiance was difficult to cover up. Just as they stared in amazement at how alike this duplicate was, the fake Gu Yang's spear suddenly pierced forward, unleashing a shocking power. A pillar of blood chi soared into the sky. "What?" Upon seeing that blood chi, all the Dragon Blood warriors let out a startled cry. Chapter 1932, 1932. It even duplicated the dragon blood battle armor. The fake Gu Yang had summoned the dragon blood battle armor and was now covered in red dragon scales. With a roar, its spear pierced toward Gu Yang. Boom! Gu Yang's body shuddered and he was sent flying by the fake Gu Yang's spear. Blood dripped out of his mouth. He was filled with shock. "What's going on? Why is it that the fake is even stronger than the true body?" exclaimed Xuanhuan. Gu Yang was actually at a disadvantage. No, the fake Gu Yang has an identical combat power to the real one. However, the duplicated one has one advantage, and that is that it doesn't need a warm-up. It is in its peak state from the start. As for the true body, it needs to slowly accumulate power and raise it. That's one of the monstrous aspects of the devil blood pool. It's a bit unfair, but there's nothing we can do about it, explained Yue Ziokian. Upon hearing this explanation, their confidence received a blow. This was practically cheating. For most people to unleash 100% of their power, they would need to unleash 3 attacks. The first attack would have 50% of their power, the second would have 80%, and only the third would have 100%. That was the safest and most perfect way of warming up. Of course, it was possible to use 80% on your first attack and then 100 perfect on your second, but without a warm-up, you might injure your meridians. As for using 100% from the start, first, ignoring how difficult it would be to do such a thing, even if you did pull it off, you might tear apart your meridians. Before injuring your enemies, you would have injured yourself, causing your power to drop. Then, due to being injured, your attack would have less effect. However, this duplicate was able to ignore this rule and was instantly at full power. They were helpless over this cheating. No rules are perfect. The true body is at quite a disadvantage in this fight, so. Yue Ziokian looked at Long Chen and didn't finish her sentence. Long Chen smiled. "You don't need to give me face. You want to say that even one victory each would be a crazy dream." Yue Ziokian covered up a smile. "I wouldn't say it so directly, but yes." She had been very careful with her words to avoid giving a blow to Long Chen. She was trying to protect him, but Long Chen had long since been bruised by the blows of cruel reality. He was used to it. "Actually, I encountered a similar trial in the immemorial path, but it was even crueler. This devil blood pool replicates 100% of the true body's power, while in that trial it created an enemy with 120% of your power. Furthermore, you couldn't retreat or lose or you would die," said Long Chen. 120% of the true body's power. Now everyone was shocked. They hadn't known that Long Chen had experienced something like that in the immemorial path. "Then you won. Damn, that was a dumb question. If boss had lost, you wouldn't be standing here." Li Qi had just spoken when he realized he had misspoken. "But boss, that's impossible. How is someone supposed to beat another version of yourself that is simply stronger?" asked Yu Ran. "That made no sense." "Then tell me, if there were 2 identical people, wouldn't their odds of victory be 50-50? Based on that logic, why is it that the original devil race's disciples practically never managed to defeat themselves in this trial? That's why you shouldn't try to use this logic, nor should you let this logic restrict your mind. I've previously told you that you have to keep your imagination in front of reality. Otherwise, you would have reached the end of your path and be unable to walk any further," said Long Chen. Yue Ziokian's eyes lit up. She seemed to have understood something. Long Chen saw that and smiled. "As expected of the sacred daughter, you understood with just a hint." Yue Ziokian's comprehension skills were truly great. Long Chen had never seen anyone who surpassed her when it came to learning. Sacred Daughter was the title bestowed by the original devil race to their future leader. Both disciples and elders called her this. Rumbling rang out as Gu Yang's fight continued. It was growing increasingly intense. "Has Gu Yang taken the advantage?" said Tang Wan'er with surprise. "You're wrong. The one being beaten miserably is the real Gu Yang," said Long Chen. Tang Wan'er blushed. "The two looked the same. I thought the one shouting was Gu Yang." Yue Ziokian said, "It's normal to not be able to see the difference. The blood devil pool replicates the true body's habits as well. Gu Yang has a habit of shouting when he has taken the advantage, wanting to snowball this advantage into a victory and increase his opponent's mental pressure. The silent one was actually the real one, but it was the fake that had taken the advantage and was shouting in an identical way to how Gu Yang shouted in combat." Everyone stopped their cheering awkwardly. They didn't know what kind of emotion the current Gu Yang was feeling, but they guessed that it wasn't a good one. The distant experts of the original devil race didn't find this odd. What they were shocked by was Gu Yang's power. The two Gu Yangs were fighting with immense power that made it hard for them to breathe. Their fight eventually passed the 2-hour mark. Too powerful and too fierce. The original devil race's disciples were gobsmacked. Gu Yang's fight was so intense that it was making their own blood heat up. 2 hours is already the level of the strongest heavenly geniuses, and it seems he can still continue. As expected, the name of the martial heaven continent's #1 legion isn't for nothing, praised one of them. He was one of the original devil race's core disciples, and he had managed to last a full 2 hours last time. However, past that mark, he had been instantly defeated. Back then, he had been on his last legs and had barely managed to bitterly hold on for this long. The original devil race only had 30-some people on his level. As for Gu Yang, his fight was still incredibly intense. Despite being suppressed, there were no signs he was about to give up. Gu Yang has been injured. Song Minjuan suddenly let out a cry. Gu Yang's shoulder had been pierced by his opponent's spear. Blood soaked his upper robes. The fake Gu Yang was growing fiercer with its attacks, and it seemed to possess limitless power, making them suspect that it truly had greater stores of energy. Its aura wasn't weakening at all. "Xiaoqian, is there any mortal danger to the blood devil pool?" asked Chu Yao. "Don't worry, the devil blood pool is a treasure passed down from the ancient era. If someone is going to be killed, they'll be instantly transported out. There's no chance of dying, but being injured like this isn't part of the auto-protection system," said Yue Xiaoqian. She was also amazed by how Gu Yang had lasted for so long. The more time passed, the further victory seemed to be, and the harder it would be to continue fighting. Only those who had experienced the devil blood pool understood just how difficult it was. Gu Yang was going all out, but no matter what, he was unable to reverse the tides. The fake Gu Yang had completely suppressed him. He slowly began accumulating injuries and looked to be in great danger. However, Gu Yang was still brave, and sometimes he only narrowly avoided being struck in his vitals. If he was about to be struck in a vital spot, the trial would determine that he was about to die and would transport him out. The current Gu Yang was covered in blood, but his gaze was still sharp. He wasn't panicking at all. His spear was still steady. What a terrifying will. Even in such a hopeless scenario, he hasn't given up. Anyone else would have long since crumbled. The original devil race's disciples were watching with shock. It had already been another hour. Gu Yang's will was amazing. They knew what it represented for Gu Yang to still be fighting. He was currently in a hopeless battle, and it was practically torture. Boom! Suddenly, Gu Yang's spear went flying, and the fake Gu Yang's spear pressed against the real Gu Yang's head. However, at that moment, the devil blood pool transported Gu Yang out. Li Qi and Song Minjuan immediately went to support him. He was pale and barely able to stand. He had used up all his energy but had still been defeated. "Xuanhuan, I'll give you a chance to show off in the greatest way possible in all of history. Do you want it?" Long Chen suddenly sent a message to Xuanhuan. Chapter 1933. Sorry to disappoint everyone. Gu Yang barely had the energy to speak. Is something wrong with this trial? The real Gu Yang is exhausted, but the fake one isn't even breathing hard. The difference is too great, questioned Li Qi. Gu Yang hadn't made any mistakes from the start. Even while suppressed, he hadn't given up a single chance to counterattack, but he was still defeated. In truth, the fake Gu Yang also doesn't have much energy. It's just that the fake won't act weak, explained Yue Xiaoqian. Gu Yang, you're very amazing to have lasted a full 4 hours. I'm ashamed of my own time. Yue Xiaoqian's best record was only half an incense stick's time longer than Gu Yang, and that was after she had challenged the devil blood pool several times. She had plenty of experience, while this was Gu Yang's first time. Suddenly, at this time, Xuanhuan walked over with his chest puffed out, patting Gu Yang on the shoulder. "It's fine, don't be depressed. If you've been defeated, then leave it to me." "You?" Everyone looked at Xuanhuan with confusion. They even suspected that this Xuanhuan was a fake. When they encountered any trial, Xuanhuan would dodge it if he could. The Xuanhuan that always rolled on the ground begging for release could also say something so heroic. "It seems you've all misunderstood me. Do you really think I'm a coward? You question my bravery in challenging the devil blood pool," sighed Xuanhuan. "No, I don't question your bravery in challenging the devil blood pool." Li Qi shook his head. He, that's right," Xuanhuan nodded. "I question whether you have any bravery at all." "What the?" Xuanhuan almost coughed up blood. He loudly said, "I'll tell you the truth, before I was intentionally acting cowardly. Do you know why?" Everyone shook their heads, looking at Xuanhuan suspiciously. Why was it that today's Xuanhuan was like a different person? Had he been possessed? Xuanhuan heroically announced, "All right, then I'll tell you. I acted cowardly for boss. In my heart, boss is like a god. As they say, the sky cannot have two suns and the people cannot have two masters. I don't want my light to overshadow boss." Xuanhuan, as your brother, I'm not trying to criticize you, but don't you think you're bragging a bit too hard? Do you even believe yourself? Ask your own conscience if you believe it, said Song Minjuan. Well, when you put it that way. Xuanhuan suddenly felt that things had taken a turn, and that if he continued, he would be exposed. He glanced at Long Chen, who was looking at him contemptuously. Spiritually, he scolded, "Stop messing around. If you don't have that skill, don't force it. There's no need for this. Just start your display." Xuanhuan cleared his throat and said, "All right, I won't joke. Gu Yang's defeat is because he lacked one thing. Inside his heart, he didn't feel confident in definitely winning. Why? Because he was facing himself. If he was facing anyone else, anyone from the corrupt path, the ancient races, the Xuan beasts, even if they were equally matched in power, I believe that Gu Yang would definitely win. Why? Because he has no other choice but to beat them. Defeat would signify death, and death would implicate the lives of even more of his brothers. A person can go all out against others, but going all out against themselves. That's the most monstrous aspect of the devil blood pool. It creates a duplicate of yourself, which makes you feel like it's unfathomable. It sees through your techniques, making you feel helpless. The lack of confidence you feel is the main problem. The duplicate of the devil blood pool will immediately use a warmed-up 100% power attack. That's actually a psychological blow. Using an attack that surpasses common sense will leave a shadow on your heart. A voice will repeat in the depths of your heart that you cannot possibly defeat your opponent. The moment that shadow appears, you'll already be defeated. Gu Yang only had any chance of defeating himself in the first hour. After that, as he grew weary, the shadow on his heart only expanded, and the effort of continuing to fight against that shadow exhausted more energy. That's why the fake Gu Yang seemed to still possess energy, but the real Gu Yang couldn't last any longer. After hearing all this, everyone's expressions changed. Xuanhuan was previously only capable of saying some big nonsensical words, but now his words were all reasonable. "Truth, you've been fooled by my outer appearance. I'm actually a very low-key person, but today I'll show you my true self. Brothers, just prepare yourselves. I don't want my display to cause the whole world to know my great name. I want to maintain my original heart." Xuanhuan stepped forward bravely toward the devil blood pool. "I'll show you just how you should defeat yourself and your heart devil. Keep a close watch on my movements. I'll trouble Sister Xuanhuan to activate the trial for me." Everyone looked at each other, feeling like today's Xuanhuan was very odd. Yue Xuanhuan looked at Long Chen and he helplessly nodded. Xuanhuan had ended up adding some of his own poser spice into the plan that they had discussed, resulting in people not fully believing him. Xuanhuan's figure vanished, reappearing in a giant bubble within the devil blood pool. He was standing atop an ancient martial stage, just like Gu Yang had. Xuanhuan summoned his armor. Only his face was revealed. He had just appeared when another figure slowly condensed from blood mist not far from him. That figure was identical to Xuanhuan, with even that wretched smile being the same. Long Chen couldn't help shaking his head. Even if you gave a monkey imperial robes, it wouldn't look like a prince. This kind of poser style didn't suit Xuanhuan. He looked out of place, making Long Chen even regret appointing Xuanhuan as the main character of this display. "Everyone watch closely," shouted Xuanhuan. His face also became covered in his golden armor. Suddenly, the opposing Xuanhuan slashed its sabers. It was incredibly quick, like a golden bolt of lightning. The sudden burst of power came without any warning, none whatsoever, and its power instantly reached the pinnacle. Boom! Xuanhuan raised his own sabers to block, only to be sent flying. He tumbled back, looking even worse off than Gu Yang. Xuanhuan stabbed his sabers into the martial stage, creating two large cuts. He barely stabilized himself before the fake Xuanhuan charged over. A pair of golden wings appeared on its back, and its sabers rapidly spun as it charged over. How powerful! Although the duplicate Xuanhuan was using the same techniques as Xuanhuan, its battle style was different. It was fiercer. Xuanhuan was forced back, but his power began to rise bit by bit. Suddenly, with a cry, the fake Xuanhuan came to a stop and was then forced back by Xuanhuan. The two of them both retreated at the same time. After blocking the first wave of attacks, raise your power to your peak. Whether the other side is your enemy or yourself, crush them. Xuanhuan went on the offense, facing his opponent's attacks with his own. Two golden monstrosities were clashing crazily. Their colliding weapons and mechanisms were like thunder, while their bodies were like golden lightning. You still remember what Boss said. If you want to get stronger, you need to find a reason to get stronger. Why do you want to be strong? Have you already forgot? It's to protect those we cherish in our hearts. No matter who our opponent is, even if it's a god or devil, they can't be allowed to take away the people we love. Our lives aren't our own. If they want to kill us, then they want to harm our beloved. Even if we're facing ourselves, we have to erupt with our fury. Roar and proclaim that we are undefeatable. Xuanhuan shouted as he fought. His voice contained a metallic sound to it. The current Xuanhuan seemed to have been possessed by Long Chen, having a kind of domineering air to look down on the 9 heavens. He crazily attacked his opponent, but the two of them were equally matched. Neither side was able to suppress the other. Race the fear and apprehensions inside your heart. Don't be suppressed by your opponent. This is just the first step. In this kind of state, you'll simply be fighting over who runs out of energy first. You'll only have a 50% chance of winning. However, what we want isn't 50% but a 100% chance of winning. At this time, we have to fight with our true power. We are the great Dragonblood warriors, the #1 legion of the martial heaven continent. We have our own pride. Each day we have to do everything we can to get stronger. We're stronger than we were yesterday, we're stronger than we were an hour ago, we're stronger than we were a minute ago. We have to be stronger than we were a blink ago. As for our opponent, it's just a replicated version that won't get stronger. We get stronger with each breath, so tell me, what reason do you have to not win? Kill. Xuanhuan's saber suddenly blazed with light. He seemed to go crazy, unleashing a tempest of attacks. His aura gradually rose even higher, and his armor grew brighter. He seemed to be undergoing some kind of transformation, and he was actually constantly forcing his opponent back. So that's how. Li Qi clenched his fist, feeling his blood heating up. He wanted to go try this trial right now. Continuous rumbling rang out as Xuanhuan went all out. His opponent was constantly knocked back. The distant experts of the original devil race were staring with shock, their own blood heating up. In the past, they had felt too much reverence for the devil blood pool, and the idea that the only thing they could do was last longer against it had become a deep-rooted belief. They had stopped believing that they could defeat themselves. Now that Xuanhuan was showing them the way, their minds became clear. They saw an unprecedented world for themselves. No matter who it is, those who block me will die. Xuanhuan roared and slammed his sabers together. His opponent, who was still reeling from the previous blow, had its neck severed by Xuanhuan's dual sabers. Chapter 1934, 1934. Boom! Xuanhuan's opponent's head was severed. However, at that moment, the martial stage vanished and Xuanhuan was transported out. Xuanhuan's armor disappeared, revealing himself. The current Xuanhuan was covered in sweat, but he was filled with excitement. Ha, brothers, I can only help you out this much. As for whether or not you understood, it's all up to you. Xuanhuan's legs failed him and he almost collapsed. Although his fight had lasted less than an hour, he was exhausted. He needed Li Qi to go support him. After placing Xuanhuan in a chair, Li Qi praised him. Xuanhuan, I'm fully convinced, so you were actually hiding your true self so well. Don't worry about it. Brothers, go out and fight. No matter who is in your way, crush them. Xuanhuan forced himself to shout despite his lack of energy. Following that, the Dragonblood warriors charged into the Devil Blood Pool one by one. Yue Zioqian activated the automatic trial mechanism, so now anyone that entered the Devil Blood Pool would automatically be drawn into their own trial. One martial stage appeared after another, and furious roars rang out as the Dragonblood warriors went all out. Their battle intent was fully ignited by Xuanhuan. Looking from the Dragonblood warriors fighting to the original devil race's experts that couldn't help but look at him worshipfully, Xuanhuan felt like all his pores had been fully opened. He felt like he might ascend at any moment. This feeling was indescribable. Boss, you treat me too good. This is my greatest moment. Xuanhuan looked at Long Chen worshipfully. What happened? Why was it so difficult? Asked Long Chen. The two of them were speaking spiritually to prevent others from hearing. Boss, it was my mistake. I forgot to remove some of the mechanisms. I almost ended up screwing myself, said Xuanhuan. The plan had been for Xuanhuan to remove some of the hidden parts of his armor, weakening it. When the Devil Blood Pool duplicated him, his armor would still be missing those parts. Since Xuanhuan's armor was a physical object, it couldn't duplicate what had been lost. After the duplication, Xuanhuan could simply add the portions that hadn't been duplicated. The devil blood pool was for normal experts, but Xuanhuan was too special and could easily trick it to pass. It was just that Xuanhuan had been so focused on showing off that, rather than taking off the 7 parts he had planned, he had gotten caught up in his words that he had forgotten the last 3 parts. As a result, the duplicated Xuanhuan was only a bit weaker than his true self. Fortunately, he had still managed to beat it. Hearing this, Long Chen sighed. I find that showing off is the only motivation that can make you go all out. Normally, you would have definitely lost. I think the same way, so showing off is the thing that can stimulate my potential. I really admire myself. Xuanhuan nodded. Long Chen glanced at him without saying anything. After succeeding in showing off, he would become even more of a show-off in the future. However, that wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Each person pursued different things. What worked for others might not work for someone else. However, boss, will this really work? Those duplicates are too powerful. Facing myself gave me a weird feeling that made fighting very difficult, said Xuanhuan worriedly. That's because your will isn't strong enough. Don't think others are like you. Do you think others live off of showing off like you? Said Long Chen disdainfully. Boom! Yue Zifeng was the first to return. He had already succeeded in defeating his opponent. Those disciples of the original devil race were shocked. It had only been a minute, but Yue Zifeng had already won. After being transported out, Yue Zifeng didn't hesitate. He entered the devil blood pool again, once more appearing outside in under a minute. Now the original devil race's experts' eyes almost popped out of their heads. Yue Zifeng was practically a monster. Just as they were shocked, Yue Zifeng entered the devil blood pool and returned once again. I've completed your mission, Yue Zifeng smiled. Long Chen nodded. The will of a sword cultivator was truly terrifying. Their will was concentrated in their sword, and they had to possess an undefeatable will to control an undefeatable sword. Even without Xuanhuan's display, Yue Zifeng would have passed the devil blood pool. Sword cultivators were madmen, or they wouldn't be able to devote their hearts purely to the sword. The original devil race's disciples had never seen anything like this. Furthermore, this was just one of the Dragonblood Legion's captains. Now they understood why the Dragonblood Legion was called the Martial Heaven Continent's #1 Legion. They were monstrous. At this time, Li Qi also returned, however. He was covered in blood and was panting. Although he won, he had paid a price. Ha ha ha, satisfying, really. Satisfying, Li Qi laughed. Although he was short of breath, he was still smiling. Yue Zioqian also returned. At some point she had also entered. Her shoulder was bleeding, but she was smiling delightedly. Long Chen, I finally beat it, exclaimed Yue Zioqian, holding Long Chen's hand. I knew you would be able to figure it out with just some pointers, but next time be careful. If you get injured here, I'll get hurt here. Long Chen pointed to Yue Zioqian's shoulder and then his own heart. Although he knew being injured in battle was unavoidable, he still felt some pain. Yes, I'll pay more attention in the future. Yue Zioqian blushed slightly, looking down, but she was happy inside. Another person returned. Long Chen jumped in shock. Little miss, just what are you up to? It was Tang Wanner. She was now covered in blood, and even her face was covered in cuts. Although they rapidly healed, the blood remained. Hee, I won. Tang Wanner made a victorious gesture and an adorable face. Long Chen suddenly hugged Tang Wanner, startling her. She knew Long Chen was distressed by her current appearance. You don't need to pass the trial. Your wind blades are like a whirlwind of thousands of blades. It's too bloody, said Long Chen. No, I'm also a member of the Dragonblood Legion. I'm not going to become deadweight. Don't worry, I'll look after myself. Getting a bit injured will just toughen me up. Tang Wanner held Long Chen's face in her hands. After saying that, Tang Wanner and Yue Zioqian circulated their heavenly Tao energy to recover and prepare for the next challenge. After all, not everyone was as monstrous as Yue Zifeng, and capable of maintaining their peak condition the entire time. Yue Zifeng was capable of mercilessly slaying even himself. That was one reason why most sword cultivators were lonely, aloof figures. Most of the Dragonblood warriors managed to win, but some failed. Facing oneself was too difficult, but after resting, they tried again. To maintain the maximum effect each time, they always recovered to their peak condition before attempting it. Boss, how about you try it as well to raise their morale? Asked Xuanhuan. Long Chen shook his head. This kind of trial is meaningless to me now. Long Chen had stealthily tested the devil blood pool before, only to find that evil moon. his dragon blood battle armor, and even his paragon arts were unable to be duplicated. Not even his world extermination flame lotus could be duplicated. The dragon blood warriors' dragon blood battle armor could be duplicated, but not his. It was very strange. In this kind of state, he could only fight with his bare hands to challenge himself, which was useless. Furthermore, the Azure Dragon Essence blood was constantly strengthening his physical body, so this trial couldn't help him at all. As the Dragon Blood warriors challenged the Devil Blood pool within a distant high tower, Yue Zihan and some core elders of the original Devil race were watching. This Long Chen has toppled our understanding of the Devil Blood pool as soon as he arrived. No wonder he is able to turn everything on its head in the martial heaven continent. He truly is a monstrous existence, said one of the elders. The original Devil race has a deep relationship with the 9-star heirs. Long Chen's fate is tied to our original Devil race, and this is the start of our resurgence. Long Chen's arrival will cause huge changes. Perhaps one day, we will be able to break the martial heaven continent's bindings and merge with the original Devil races of other star fields, said Yue Zihan. Race leader Long Chen brought a lot of heavenly Dao fruits this time, and many of them are on the Empyrean level. This matter is too big for us to handle, so we need your guidance, said the elder. In the yin-yang world, rivers of blood had flowed. Many great geniuses had died during the battle. Long Chen had mountains of the heavenly Dao fruits, which were more than enough to turn every member of the Dragon Blood Legion into an Empyrean. He had then distributed a portion to the Heaven-Splitting Battle sect, sending them through the Huyun sect, while another portion was left with Li Tianxuan. The rest were for the original Devil race. Not only were there over 2,000 on the level of Empyreans, but there were also over 1,000,000 of the level of rank 9 Celestials. That was enough to raise a terrifying army that could fight on the martial heaven continent. There's no rush. Go back and choose a portion of our elite disciples to form a supreme army. Once they mature, we'll be able to fight the martial heaven continent. Yue Zihan looked into the distance with a smile. She seemed to be able to see the day that the original Devil race could return to the martial heaven continent. Chapter 1935. As time passed, more and more of the Dragon Blood warriors passed the tests. They managed to defeat themselves 3 times in a row. However, some of them failed many times. They might win the first time and then lose the second, and so they had to start over. Even if they won twice but lost the third, they would have to restart. This was a condition that Long Chen had tacked on. It could be considered a challenge with a heaven-defying level of difficulty. Each time they beat themselves, their power and will would rise. However, the next time they tried the trial, their opponent would have grown equally strong. To defeat themselves 3 times in a row, they had to constantly grow stronger. That was incredibly difficult. Long Chen was trying to draw out all their potential. In theory, this method was impossible, but Long Chen had never really believed in theory. His principle was to raise his saber and fight to the death. There were no reasons or excuses needed. All he had to do was win. After 3 days, half of the Dragon Blood warriors had managed to pass the 3 consecutive win condition. Some of them even challenged themselves over and over again to break through their limits. The Dragon Blood Legion's power shook the original Devil race's disciples to the core. The difference between them was immense. Some of them also started challenging the Devil Blood pool. This time, they weren't fighting for time but to win. Very quickly, some of them also managed to defeat themselves, stimulating the rest of them. Countless disciples began to attempt the trial. Time passed by bit by bit. Most of the Dragon Blood warriors managed to pass, but hundreds of them were now in a deadlock. They were constantly growing stronger, but so were their opponents. They couldn't win. Long Chen gathered those Dragon Blood warriors. They were ashamed. They had all managed to beat themselves twice in a row but lost on the third. They were angry enough to curse. Having been specifically gathered by Long Chen, they were ashamed of themselves, as well as nervous, feeling like they had disappointed their boss. You are all excellent. The reason you weren't able to pass isn't because you aren't strong enough, but simply because you were unlucky. It's actually not a bad thing, said Long Chen. Boss, you don't need to comfort us, said one of the Dragon Blood warriors. I'm not skilled in comforting others, only randomly hacking them. Long Chen smiled. That drew out a smile from them. Long Chen looked over at them. Having bad luck isn't a bad thing. This is a truth that I have profoundly experienced. My luck has always been terrible, and I would often complain about it. However, complaining had no use. It was only later that I realized that whether or not something is good depends on how you look at it. A lucky person has a smooth path, but after succeeding 999 times, all it takes is one failure for them to stumble and fall miserably. I'm sure with your experience, you know about the so-called high and noble heavenly geniuses who look down on others. Their good luck makes them succeed easier than others, which fosters a condescending attitude of looking down on others. Before encountering you, they always succeed, but after encountering you, they were killed with a single stroke of a blade, their good luck coming to an end. On the other hand, someone with bad luck will fall 999 times, but it only takes one success for them to soar. Their failures temper their will and mental realm, and once they step into a higher realm, their failures will become a solid foundation. One is a solid foundation, while the other is rootless duckweed. That's why you shouldn't be resentful of failure. Look at it from another point of view. Calm yourself down and find the source. Xuanhuan suddenly raised his hand. Boss, I understand. You're saying that failure is the mother of success. Even if I fail 999 times, all I have to do is try again. Chen nodded. Yes, if you try again, you can get an even 1,000. Xuanhuan almost coughed up blood. Boss, what are you saying? What I just said doesn't apply to you. A fellow like you with no willpower or integrity doesn't follow this logic. If you want to say that failure is the mother of success, then you are definitely infertile, said Chen. Boss, my heart, without 100,000 spirit crystals, no, without 1,000,000 spirit crystals, I'll never recover. Xuanhuan lay like a ball on the ground without the slightest air of an expert. Xuanhuan was the clown of the Dragonblood Legion. He liked to mess around, but he was able to raise everyone's mood. Fine, you win. I'll give you the money when we get back. Let's talk for real, said Chen. Speaking to everyone, he said, being angry over this is meaningless and won't solve your problems. At this time, you have to learn some new techniques. However, what I'm about to teach you, you cannot show to the heaven-splitting battle sex people, or they'll definitely beat you. For the heaven-splitting battle sect, power was everything. If you couldn't beat your opponent, it just meant that you weren't strong enough. They wouldn't try to use any trick because that was a waste of time, a distraction from getting stronger. First, he had to make sure that what he was about to say wouldn't reach the old man's ears. Only once everyone nodded did Chen continue. The devil blood pool's rules are dead, while people are alive. You know your own weaknesses, and those weaknesses are duplicated. What if in the middle of battle, you were to break your limit by creating a new technique that is unique to you? You can come up with a completely deviant technique adapted to your weaknesses. In the end, the goal of battle is to eliminate your opponents. It doesn't matter if you use a crotch kick, an eye jab, a nose hook, as long as it works, it's fine. To tell the truth, back in the Eastern Wastelands Phoenix Cry Empire, I had an exceptionally good crotch kick that knocked out quite a few balls. Xuanhuan and the others turned away, their faces red. Chen's final words were a bit too crude. Chu Yao and Meng Qi both covered their smiles. Back in the Phoenix Cry Empire, Chen truly had often used this move. In fact, he had once used just this one move to take victory on the martial stage. Boss, we understood. We weren't flexible enough, said one of the Dragonblood warriors. Exactly. Rules are dead, but people are alive. Do you remember the Fate Princes that flustered Chang Hao and Bao Buping? Two of you were able to kill two Fate Princes easily. Why is that? Because people need to know how to break conventions, or others will use their experience to play you to death as you follow the same patterns over and over again. We don't play by those rules. If someone wants to play chess with you, just break the chessboard, said Chen. Meng Qi and the others were speechless. When Chen was evil, was there anyone more evil than him? The things he could come up with were chilling. Boss, we understand. Then go. Those Dragonblood warriors once more charged into the Devil Blood Pool. This time, their battle style had clearly changed. People quickly ran back, exclaiming their victories. Don't get happy too soon. You'll only be able to use each move once because it will be duplicated the next time. You need to constantly think of new techniques on the fly. Furthermore, make sure to win, because as time passes, your opponent will only grow more evil as you do, said Chen. Those Dragonblood warriors felt their excitement vanish without a trace. They focused and ran back to the trial. However, with just this one warning, they once more passed. They were constantly thinking of how to create a new method to target their own weaknesses. The Dragonblood warriors all started challenging the Devil Blood Pool again, wanting to use this chance to think of new techniques. There was no risk to their lives, and they could gain more experience. They were like divine weapons being constantly sharpened by the Devil Blood Pool, With each day, they made progress. They could clearly feel themselves getting stronger. Influenced by the dragon blood warriors, the disciples of the original devil race also joined in. Another week passed, and the dragon blood warriors had all passed. After that, Long Chen took out a batch of heavenly Tao fruits, making the warriors who weren't yet Empyreans refine them. Due to their immense experience with refining the heavenly Tao fruits, it only took them a single day to refine them. Now, the Dragon Blood Legion was composed of Empyreans. Over 12,000 Empyreans were standing together. Their powerful auras caused heaven and earth to tremble. Long Chen felt a grand feeling in his heart. He had raised this unrivaled army. Brothers, let's go. We're undergoing tribulation. Long Chen suddenly waved his hand, bringing the Dragon Blood Legion out of the skyscraping world. Chapter 1936. Above the martial heaven sea ring, everyone from the Dragon Blood Legion was gathered. They were a bit nervous, as well as excited. They all felt the barrier in front of them weakening. They were just one step away from advancing to the Life Star realm. As long as they underwent the lightning tribulation, they would become Life Star experts. However, they knew that with Long Chen, their lightning tribulation wouldn't be the same as other people's. They would challenge the strongest kind of heavenly tribulation. This would be a battle. Other than the Dragon Blood warriors, Yue Zihan had also come. Looking over them, she said, "The Life Star realm condenses the energy of your Yuan spirit and Danshan together. By borrowing the energy of heavenly tribulation, you condense your Danshan's formless qi into a solid entity. The two kinds of energy will form an astral space inside you. From then, you won't need to rely on spatial rings. This astral space is your Life Star bead. However, you will condense two Life Star beads. One will represent the past, and one will represent the future. Essentially, all experts will choose to extract the Life Star bead of their past, because what they want is a new start for their future. That way, their mental realm will become like a sheet of blank paper, and they can rewrite what they want while abandoning what they don't, making their future cultivation even easier. However, Long Chen has told me that all your past experiences are very important to you, so you won't abandon the Life Star bead of the past. Then what you need to do is merge the two Life Star beads together. Doing such a thing requires much more tribulation lightning and will require a powerful will from each of you. This is something very dangerous. One reason is because heavenly tribulation can't be controlled. If it's not strong enough, you will fail to merge your two Life Star beads. The other reason is that doing such a thing has high requirements when it comes to your willpower, Yuan spirit, and spiritual strength. You have to prepare yourselves." Long Chen and the others had never experienced the Life Star realm, but Yue Zian was explaining some things that they needed to take note of. "Don't worry, we actually have plentiful experience when it comes to heavenly tribulation," said Long Chen. Even as the leader of the original devil race, Yue Zihan had never heard of over 10,000 people undergoing tribulation together. Long Chen always did things that others would never do. She was a bit worried, but he seemed confident. Yue Zihan nodded and led away a dozen experts of the original devil race. They made sure to distance themselves but be close enough to watch. Although Long Chen was confident, she still wasn't at ease. Although Long Chen was a 9-star heir, such a crazy action could not be controlled. If something unexpected happened, the results would be unimaginable. Despite that, Yue Zihan respected Long Chen's choice. She led her people further away and activated a grand formation to conceal them. That way, they wouldn't be sensed by the heavenly Taos. If there was something wrong, they might be able to help. "Should we open the spatial watching channel?" asked one of the experts she had brought. Yue Zihan nodded. "That's a good idea. Let the disciples see how the Dragon Blood Legion undergoes tribulation. Even if things go wrong, they might be able to learn something." That expert formed hand seals, and a giant channel appeared behind him. It was like an eye watching the Dragon Blood Legion in the distance. Within the ancestral lands of the original devil race, a giant projection appeared in the sky. The figures within that projection were Long Chen and the others. The disciples of the original devil race looked up to watch. Even the disciples still attempting the devil blood pool stopped to watch. What are they doing? Could it be? Those disciples stared, dumbfounded. They thought of something that they didn't dare to imagine. "Begin, let's not waste any time," said Long Chen. Boom! The Dragon Blood Legion's people unleashed their auras. Pillars of light soared into the sky as they all began attacking the Life Star realm at the same time. As they broke through the barrier, the sky darkened and black clouds covered the sky. The world became silent. My eyes are being opened to the world. I've never seen such a terrifying lightning tribulation. The scope is even greater than when I advanced into Nether Passage, said one of the original Devil Race's experts. After passing through the mental journey part of advancing to the Nether Passage realm, success meant returning and undergoing heavenly tribulation. But even Nether Passage experts were stunned by this tribulation. Although the strength of the tribulation wasn't as great, the scale was even greater. Kill. However, the next scene made those Nether Passage experts dumbstruck. All the Dragonblood warriors suddenly began to attack the tribulation clouds that were gathering. "Are they crazy?" cried one of the Nether Passage experts. They were actually attacking heavenly tribulation. Wasn't that becoming enemies with the heavenly Taos? Did they even care about their lives? Over 10,000 attacks struck the tribulation clouds, creating a large hole in the middle. The tribulation clouds surged, seemingly furious. They regenerated, growing denser. However, the Dragonblood warriors' attacks didn't stop. There, one of the original Devil Race's experts sighed but swallowed his last two words. However, everyone knew that he was about to say that they were courting death. This truly was suicide. Even Yue Zihan frowned. Although she knew that the original Devil Race had a connection to the 9-star heirs, she wasn't qualified to know those secrets, so she couldn't comprehend what Long Chen was currently doing. As the Dragonblood warriors attacked, the clouds grew thicker, and it was like a magical beast had been provoked. Heavenly might crashed down from the sky. Suddenly, blinding lightning flashed amongst the originally dark clouds. It was like a sea of lightning falling from the sky, and it enveloped the Dragonblood Legion. Within that sea of lightning, the roaring of lightning beasts could be heard. Lightning beasts have already appeared in the first wave. The first wave of the tribulation was the weakest, and was usually to leave room for people to get used to the lightning. The strength of the rest of the tribulation could be seen by the first wave. Normally, lightning beasts would only appear at the end. Kill. The Dragonblood warriors raised their divine items, slaughtering these lightning beasts. The lightning beasts transformed into lightning runes that were absorbed by the Dragonblood warriors. As they absorbed the lightning, their dantions began to change. They shrank, and the energy of their Yuan spirit and spiritual strength was absorbed by their dantions, gradually condensing into a small dot. That small dot was the embryonic life star bead. As it grew larger, it would become the true life star bead, and then it would fracture into two. For most cultivators, all they needed to do was take out the life star bead of their past so that they could continue with their life star bead of the future. That would create its own astral space, and they would have advanced to the life star realm. However, Long Chen wanted everyone to merge their life star beads that would fracture them back into one, combining their past and future. That required a huge amount of tribulation lightning energy, as well as Yuan spirit energy and spiritual strength. Now, they didn't need to worry about the amount of lightning tribulation energy. They crazily absorbed it. Long Chen was also immersed in the lightning. Lei Long was floating behind him, but it only devoured any fellows that attacked it. Lightning on this level was no longer able to interest it. Long Chen didn't attack the tribulation clouds. He was waiting for everyone to absorb enough energy. He looked at Yue Zioqian in the crowd and saw that there were more lightning beasts attacking her. That meant that she really was rejected by the world, and so she was receiving special treatment. More and more lightning beasts appeared, and they grew larger and more powerful. However, the Dragonblood warriors were still able to easily handle them. Cloud had taken human form and was also fighting alongside everyone else. She was using a sword and was able to kill the lightning beasts easily, but her movements were stiff. She clearly wasn't too used to her human form. However, if she wanted a greater comprehension of the heavenly Taos, she had to get used to it. It would be greatly beneficial. That was because humans were the most spiritual of life forms. Although the Xuanhuan beasts possessed terrifying bodies, they weren't as close to the heavenly Taos, and those closest to the heavenly Taos had the highest chances of ascension. So the experts of the Xuanhuan beasts all had to get used to human forms. As for the human race, they also had flaws and were extremely envious of the Xuanhuan beasts' powerful bodies, thinking them to be the strongest. However, if the Xuanhuan beasts really were the strongest, why would they choose to take human form? So foolish people really had different brains than normal people. They were simply incapable of communicating. 2 hours later, the lightning beasts were so powerful that they were comparable to 12th rank magical beasts. The Dragonblood Legion was starting to find it taxing. However, it wasn't that they weren't strong enough to fight them, but that they were distracted by having to condense their life star beads at the same time. Lei Long helped them out. I'll let you have some good food in a bit. Long Chen waved his hand and Lei Long roared. A giant lightning sphere shot out. Chapter 1937. Lei Long roared, unleashing an attack. A giant lightning sphere shot out of its mouth and then exploded in the air. It transformed into lightning swords that slew the lightning beasts. These lightning beasts were nothing to Lei Long. Because they came from the same source, the divine lightning that Lei Long had absorbed made its thunder force far stronger than these lightning beasts. In a competition of power against power, Lei Long was like a tempered blade, while these lightning beasts were like cabbages. There was a qualitative difference between the two of them. The Dragon Blood warriors might be having some trouble with these lightning beasts, but they were easy to handle for Lei Long. The Dragon Blood warriors were delighted by this help. They focused the majority of their attention on merging their 2 life star beads. Being distracted was troublesome, and this help lifted quite a bit of pressure off of them, so they could now focus on their life star beads. Lei Long once more roared, and a giant arc of lightning shot out, forming a wave that slaughtered the lightning beasts. They were instantly shattered into lightning runes. That was a shocking sight. The original Devil Race's disciples were stunned by the lightning dragon that Long Chen had summoned. The method that the Dragon Blood Legion used to undergo tribulation was shocking. "It seems my worries were for nothing," said Yue Zihan. "You can't be too sure of that. Long Chen is daring, but when the blood gets to his head, he might not think of certain details. Being careful is still best," said one of the elders. Time passed bit by bit. A willow image appeared amongst the Dragon Blood Legion for a moment, but then it vanished. Liu Ruyan had been using her human form to undergo this tribulation, but for some reason, she had suddenly manifested her true body for a moment before withdrawing it. "This genius of the undying willow race has broken through," said Yue Zihan, looking at Liu Ruyan. "The undying willow is a very strong race. I didn't expect them to actually appear on the Martial Heaven continent and join the Dragon Blood Legion," said one of the elders. "This is Long Chen's charisma. He's able to make his followers follow him unto death. Their devotion is so great that it even looks a bit foolish, but this is the human heart. He's willing to risk his life for others, so others will risk their lives for him. That's why the Dragon Blood Legion's power, unity, and fearlessness have resounded throughout the Martial Heaven continent. Even his enemies have no choice but to admit that the Dragon Blood Legion is the continent's #1 legion. The only inexplicable thing is the legend about the 9-star heirs. They are supposed to be aloof, lonely figures who go against the world on their own. If Long Chen didn't possess the 9-star Hegemon body art, I'd suspect that he wasn't a 9-star heir," said Yue Zihan. "Long Chen's existence didn't quite match the records written by her race." Rumbling rang out, and the world suddenly became multicolored. "It's the 5-colored tribulation lightning," exclaimed an elder. "Troublesome. The Dragon Blood Legion has yet to fully merge their 2 life star beads," said a worried elder. "It's still fine. Long Chen's expression is still calm. He probably came prepared," said Yue Zihan. The 5-colored tribulation lightning crashed down like a flood. One after another giant lightning beasts came down, each larger than a mountain. They charged out of the 5-colored lightning and at the Dragon Blood Legion. These lightning beasts, condensed of 5-colored lightning, were incredibly powerful. Just their roars caused people's souls to shake. They possessed immense heavenly might, which was the will of the heavenly Taos, making it so others wouldn't even dare to resist. Even the Nether Passage experts were feeling fear now. This kind of terrifying heavenly tribulation was something that they didn't want to touch. They had originally come to prepare a grand formation that could unite their force, so that if something unexpected happened to Long Chen and the others, they could transport them back to the skyscraping world. That way, the lightning tribulation of the Martial Heaven continent would vanish. This was a way of tricking the heavens. However, if they wanted to do this, they would have to wait until the Dragon Blood warriors finished merging their life star beads, or they would never be able to advance to life star. The Dragon Blood warriors were at a critical moment, but now this 5-colored lightning came crashing down on them. That had surpassed the limits of what the original Devil Race could possibly control. If they tried to interfere, their lives would be in danger. The only thing that gave them the slightest bit of comfort was that Long Chen wasn't panicking at all as he was immersed in the 5-colored lightning. He allowed it to wash over him, drinking it in. As for the Dragon Blood warriors, they actually didn't show any fear in the face of this heavenly might. They were completely focused on merging their life star beads. This heavenly might didn't give them much pressure. They had been going against this kind of heavenly might since they had known Long Chen, and they already possessed a certain resistance to it. This allowed the Dragon Blood warriors to continuously maintain their calm. Lei Long suddenly roared, transforming into a giant. Shockingly, this giant was an image of Long Chen. The original devil race's expert's pupils shrank. This lightning giant version of Long Chen stabbed a spear through the air, tearing through the void. A five-colored lightning beast was instantly pierced through. However, the lightning spear didn't stop at all. It continued, killing all the lightning beasts in its path. Nice, Lei Long. Long Chen smiled. Lei Long had a lightning spear in hand and giant lightning wings on its back. That was Long Chen's peak combat state. In the lightning field, Long Chen had made Lei Long learn the sundering lightning heavenly wings and the wild lightning soul battle spear, as well as told it to teach him once it mastered those techniques. In truth, Lei Long was able to display these lightning paragon arts on its own. However, without Long Chen's cooperation, it couldn't connect to the lightning field, causing their power to sharply drop. However, now Lei Long was using the power of divine lightning against these five-colored lightning beasts. These five-colored lightning beasts were fundamentally unable to block it. Just as Long Chen was praising Lei Long, a small flame dragon flew around Long Chen's neck and rubbed Long Chen's cheek. Haha, you're also amazing, you're both amazing. Long Chen rubbed Hugh Long with his hand, comforting this jealous little fellow. Hugh Long was also powerful, but Long Chen only had alchemy arts in his pill's sovereign memories. His flame control arts were all for refining pills, not fighting with flames. He had to admit that when it came to fighting with flames, he was slightly inferior to Hugh Liyun. It seemed that he would need to learn more flame arts in the future. After all, the heir of a pill sovereign couldn't be lacking such skills. Hugh Long was like a spoiled child curling around Long Chen's neck to show its own existence. Long Chen comforted Hugh Long as he watched Lei Long fight. The giant that Lei Long had transformed into was slaughtering the five-colored lightning beasts. They were transforming into runes that the Dragon Blood Legion was absorbing. Boss is mighty, Lei Long is domineering. The Dragon Blood warriors cheered. The five-colored lightning runes were many times purer than the previous runes. They could now focus on absorbing the energy of this lightning to merge their two life star beads. The five-colored lightning runes were rapidly speeding up this process. That lightning dragon actually possesses divine power. It's inconceivable, said Yue Zihan, looking at the lightning giant. Perhaps others weren't able to sense it, but she was clearly able to sense a divine attribute to it. Although it was very weak, she couldn't be wrong. Ha ha ha, I'm the first. Gu Yang let out a heaven-shaking roar. He hadn't managed to win any face against the devil blood pool, but now he was first to break through. He had to take back his first place spot. After all, he was the Dragon Blood Legion's first captain. You're second. Liu Ruyan glanced indifferently at Gu Yang. I fuck you. Only then did Gu Yang notice that Liu Ruyan had completed her advancement. Her hands were now on Chu Yao's back, and she was helping her merge her life star beads. If Big Sister Meng Qi didn't lend a portion of her spiritual strength to you, let alone being first, you might not even be able to merge them. Liu Ruyan shook her head. Gu Yang's spiritual strength was extremely weak, and although it had grown stronger upon reaching the soul transformation realm and condensing a Yuan spirit, he was still at the bottom of the Dragon Blood Legion. He was even worse than Gu Ran. It was Meng Qi who lent her spiritual strength to Gu Yang, so that he would have enough spiritual strength to merge his two life star beads. Cough, if you always talk like this, you won't have any friends in the future. Gu Yang's face was a bit red as he awkwardly rubbed his head. Liu Ruyan really wasn't giving him any face. Liu Ruyan didn't pay him any more attention and focused on helping Chu Yao. Other than Chu Yao, Liu Ruyan didn't like talking to others. Everyone was already used to it. Well, I can't help anyone, so I'll go kill those lightning beasts. Feeling like he had lost face, Gu Yang hastily found an excuse to get out of this awkward position. Lei Long was easily slaying the lightning beasts, however. When Gu Yang joined in, he had some difficulty. Even going all out, it took over 10 blows to kill one. How are they so strong? Gu Yang was startled. Without the power of divine lightning, he had no innate advantage over these lightning beasts. Following Gu Yang, Meng Qi also finished the merger. Although she had lent some of her spiritual strength, she had so much that she was able to finish very quickly. Following which, Yue Zifeng, Yue Zioqian, Tang Wan'er, and the others also finished and joined the battle. Boss, I feel like Xuanhuan sent a message to Long Chen. He clearly couldn't last much longer. Stop finding excuses. If you need someone else to help you, your previous display at the Devil Blood Pool would be a lie, replied Long Chen. All right, I'll persevere. Thinking of how glorious he had been at that time, he couldn't get himself exposed now. Clenching his teeth, Xuanhuan continued with the merger of his life star beads. More and more Dragonblood warriors managed to finish and join the battle. Hence, Yue Zihan and the others felt a weight fall from their minds. At this time, the Dragonblood warriors were absorbing the energy of the five-colored lightning to expand their astral spaces and make them stronger. This was the best time to condense strong astral spaces. However, Long Chen's next words astonished them. Everyone, stop absorbing the Tribulation Lightning's energy, and definitely don't condense your astral space yet. Wait for everyone to finish the merger. Then we'll proceed with the next step. Chapter 1938, 1938. After merging the life star beads, the astral space would naturally appear. This astral space could be likened to an embryonic minor world. Condensing an astral space also indicated that you had advanced to the life star realm. At this time, they needed to absorb as much thunder force to strengthen their astral spaces. The more thunder force they could absorb, the larger their astral spaces, and the more world energy they could produce in the future. Moreover, the five-colored lightning was an extremely powerful tribulation. This kind of lightning was something that not even every Nether Passage expert faced. This kind of powerful lightning would cause one's astral space to become much larger. It was several times more effective than regular lightning. It would usually only appear in a Nether Passage expert's tribulation. It was very rarely seen in the life star realm. The original Devil Race's experts had come to the conclusion that Long Chen had ordered the attacks against the heavenly tribulation specifically for this five-colored lightning. Just as they were feeling praise for his foresight, Long Chen's shout left them dumbfounded. He actually didn't want people to absorb this five-colored lightning. Boss, I really can't do it. Please lend me some spiritual strength. I feel like my head is going to split open. Look, big sister Meng-Chi helped Gu Yang, so how can you let me lose face? Pleaded Xuanhuan. Long Chen was speechless. Although Xuanhuan's spiritual strength wasn't special, it wasn't so terrible. He definitely had the power to pass on his own. However, his willpower was too weak. He felt like he was out of energy, when in truth, he had at least 40% of his spiritual strength that was still untapped. His laziness resulted in him not excavating his own potential. However, Xuanhuan had never been a person with great willpower, or perhaps it should be said that his willpower was never used on cultivation. Helplessly, Long Chen stealthily gave Xuanhuan a bit of spiritual strength. He even had to make it so that the others couldn't sense it. In the whole Dragonblood Legion, less than 100 people had yet to finish their merger. They were all in the final stages though, so Long Chen had no choice but to help Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan's body suddenly lit up and his aura changed. That was a sign of finishing the merger. After the merger was complete, he seemed to become another person, no longer looking as pitiful as before. Looking at the warriors that had yet to finish, he called out, "Brothers, are you all right? To wait for you, I suppressed myself as much as I could, but I couldn't hold it any longer. Work hard. Success is just a little bit away. Remember, we're the strongest warriors of the Martial Heaven continent, and nothing can stop us." As Xuanhuan shamelessly cheered on the warriors that had yet to finish, Long Chen sighed inside. However, very quickly, the final Dragonblood warrior finished the merger. "Xiaoqian, attack the tribulation clouds," said Long Chen. "Me?" Yue Xiaoqian jumped in shock. She was from the original Devil Race, and the heavenly Taos of the Martial Heaven continent rejected her. She was already getting special attention from this tribulation. If she attacked it, the consequences were unimaginable. "That's right, go ahead, I'm here if you need me," said Long Chen with a smile. Yue Xiaoqian suddenly thought of when she had undergone tribulation in the immemorial path. Back then, because of 4 mysterious experts interfering, she had almost died during her tribulation. She had barely passed, and in his fury, Long Chen had attacked the lightning tribulation, enraging the heavens and even forcing those 4 mysterious experts to flee. At that time, the heavens had chained Long Chen and bound him, however. He had torn apart the very fabric of the heavens. That was the moment Yue Xiaoqian's heart was completely won by Long Chen. Seeing his smile, Yue Xiaoqian also smiled. As long as Long Chen was present, there was nothing to fear. Her devil's seal appeared on her forehead. After that, a ray of sword chi shot out at the heavens, accompanied by the specific energy of the original Devil Race. The tribulation clouds were torn apart by Yue Zioqian's attack. After seeing that, the expressions of Yue Zihan and the rest of the original devil race completely changed. The original devil race's experts were different from the dragon blood warriors. They were rejected by the heavenly Taos. As expected, the heavens went calm for a moment, and the five-colored lightning slowly faded away. The tribulation clouds began to quietly brew. In the end, giant black lotus flower clouds began to bloom, forming dense layers in the sky. At the center of each lotus was flickering lightning. A terrifying pressure grew. Yue Zihan and the others let out startled cries. Divine lightning. The lightning contained in these lotus flowers actually contained divine pressure. Even Nether Passage experts felt fear. This wasn't a matter of having the guts to face it, as this was a spiritual suppression. Divine lightning was for ascending experts. In front of this divine might, it was impossible not to feel fear. The sacred daughter. The Nether Passage experts turned pale white. Yue Zioqian was the hope of the original devil race. If she died, what would happen? At this time, Yue Zihan calmed down surprisingly. The fate of the original devil race was already intricately linked to Long Chen. Thinking of how smoothly things had gone until now, she felt it was a bit laughable to be so worried. She had already made her choice. She would leave everything to Long Chen. Suddenly, the lotus flowers exploded, and lightning rained down like sharp swords. The dragon blood warriors' bodies were blown apart, their flesh becoming a mangled mess. Even the dragon blood battle armor was unable to block this. Each drop of lightning was like a bomb. Lei Long returned to its dragon form, wanting to devour this lightning. This was something that it really wanted. Lei Long, go eat to the side. Leave the middle to the others, called out Long Chen. Although Lei Long didn't like it, it went to the edges to devour the leftover lightning. The center was for the Dragon Blood Legion. Don't worry, now isn't the time for your meal. Let others eat first, comforted Long Chen. To everyone else, he shouted, this lightning contains divine energy, so protect your heads. Use it to nourish your astral spaces. Each drop of divine lightning was like a bomb, causing their flesh to explode. If it was someone else, a single drop would be enough to kill them. Despite how much physical damage the lightning was doing, it would always transform into incomparably pure lightning energy after striking their bodies. Even without having to do anything, their bodies, astral spaces, would automatically absorb it. If they actually focused on absorbing it, then the energy of this divine lightning would surge toward them like a flood, filling their astral spaces and making them grow. 1 meter, 3 meters, 10 meters. The astral spaces were like tiny worlds, while they were the masters of those worlds. They could clearly sense some kind of energy form a connection with them from this world. As their astral spaces grew, that energy grew stronger. Although they were still unable to use that energy, they could sense that they were rapidly growing stronger. The larger their astral spaces, the stronger they grew. I want to get stronger. Gu Yang suddenly roared and spread his arms as if to embrace this world. He allowed the torrent of lightning to fall on him as he crazily absorbed the divine lightning. Be careful, Long Chen suddenly shouted and flicked a finger. A lightning arrow shot out, knocking aside a drop of the divine lightning that was about to strike Gu Yang's head. Fool, make sure to protect your vitals, otherwise you might die. Due to his excitement, Gu Yang had forgotten just how dangerous this divine lightning was. If this divine lightning shattered his skull, it might cause his Yuan spirit to dissipate. My bad, boss. Gu Yang blushed and properly protected his head. The majority of the Dragon Blood warriors were able to endure this torrent of lightning. However, the healing experts were in a miserable state. They were wood cultivators, and despite also possessing the Dragon Blood battle armor, their physical bodies were too weak. Each drop blasted bloody holes in their bodies. If 3 drops landed at the same time, they would be in danger of dying. They were carefully blocking with their wooden staves, doing their best to make sure the lightning landed on them 1 drop at a time. Fortunately, their recovery abilities were amazing. Gu Ran, are you trying to get your armor destroyed? Shouted Long Chen at Gu Ran, who had tried stealthily putting on his armor. Feeling like he was at his limit, he had summoned his armor to cheat, but as a result, 2 large holes appeared in his armor in an instant. But, what buts? As long as I'm present you won't die, so hurry up and absorb the lightning, ordered Long Chen. Gu Ran felt helpless. Not even his armor could save him now. Each drop of the lightning was covering him in blood, breaking his bones. However, he actually acted tough and didn't make a sound. His previous attempt at showing off had ended up going so well that he wanted to prove to everyone that he had only been acting cowardly before. If he became weak now, it would indicate that he was actually cowardly, not acting. Time passed slowly. Long Chen stood in the sky. If anyone was in danger, he would immediately go save them. Long Chen didn't mind the lightning that struck his body. It was barely an itch. After being rebuilt by the Azure Dragon Essence blood, Long Chen's body had reached an unimaginable level. Finally, after 2 hours had passed, the healing warriors were no longer able to endure. Coughing up blood, they had reached their limit. Chapter 1939. Long Chen suddenly flew over to the healing warriors. A lightning spear appeared in his hand, and with a wave, he blew apart the lightning rain, turning it into lightning mist. "Boss, I'll block the lightning rain for you, so absorb as much of the lightning mist as you can. This relates to your foundation in the future," said Long Chen. A person's astral space could continuously grow during this tribulation, but once the lightning tribulation vanished, their astral spaces would solidify. Their future advancements would increase the sizes of their astral spaces based on the size after the tribulation. Based on normal cultivation standards, each heaven stage of the life star realm would increase the size of the astral space by 30%. If a person's astral space was 30 miles wide after breaking through, it would be almost 40 after advancing to the first heaven stage. At the second heaven stage, it would once more grow by 30%. That was why the initial size of the astral space would decide how large it could grow in the future. This would greatly affect their power. This was their chance to get as strong as possible. "Don't worry, I'll protect you." Xuanhuan immediately came over, saying that he was helping when he was trying to escape his predicament. Long Chen couldn't be bothered anymore with this shameless fellow. What was to be feared was not someone who was willing to throw their life away, but someone who was shameless. Xuanhuan was already unrivaled in that regard. Using the physical body to endure the lightning tribulation was a way to temper the will. As for using divine lightning, just how rare was that opportunity? But Xuanhuan didn't cherish it in the slightest. However, Long Chen supposed that everyone had their own path. "If anyone else is unable to endure it, you can come over," announced Long Chen. He needed to help the healing warriors right now and could no longer be looking after them. Fortunately, not everyone was like Xuanhuan. They knew that this was an opportunity, a stroke of good fortune, a chance to get stronger. This opportunity was something that Long Chen had created for them. From the eastern wasteland, Long Chen had started training them, and the effects of the heavenly tribulation could not be neglected. They cherished this opportunity. They clenched their teeth and bitterly endured. They absorbed the divine lightning and used it to cleanse their bodies of impurities. Seeing the dragon blood warriors enduring through this divine lightning, one of the original devil race's experts sighed. Who knows how difficult it was for the Dragon Blood Legion to become the #1 legion of the Martial Heaven continent. They had to have experienced something like this more than once. Their accomplishments are no coincidence. These children are truly ruthless. Being ruthless to oneself is better than being consumed by others. If you want to live with dignity, you have to pay more than others, said Yue Zihan. I wonder how large the astral space of the sacred daughter will become. There's no way to say. However, being expanded by divine lightning will definitely make it larger than ours. Yue Zihan smiled. Yue Ziokian was her daughter and her pride, as well as the hope of the original devil race. Yue Ziokian was standing at the front, enduring the most divine lightning. She was covered in blood, but there was a determined light in her eyes. Yue Ziokian smiled proudly as well as sorrowfully. If this was a peaceful world, Yue Ziokian would still be an innocent child living a carefree life. However, this world was not peaceful. The original devil race in particular was in a very precarious position. They might be destroyed at any moment. When Yue Ziokian was young, she was very obedient and worked hard on her cultivation. Behind her growth and maturity was the fact that she had taken up a heavy burden at a young age. Yue Zihan felt sorry for her. Eventually, the tribulation clouds began to shudder, and Yue Zihan sighed with relief. That indicated that the tribulation was coming to an end. Ziokian, attack the tribulation again, said Long Chen. Yue Ziokian didn't hesitate. A streak of sword chi tore through the sky. Suddenly, the clouds tore open, and a giant thunderbolt crashed down from that tier at Yue Ziokian. Yue Ziokian's hair stood on end, as a sensation of death enveloped her. Boom! A lightning spear struck the giant thunderbolt, filling the air with blinding light. Long Chen now held a lightning spear, and after shattering the thunderbolt, lightning runes fell amongst the Dragonblood warriors. The Dragonblood warriors were delighted to find that these lightning runes were 10 times larger than the previous ones and many times purer. Boss, this is amazing. Absorbing these lightning runes, they felt their astral spaces rapidly growing. They practically doubled in size. Their delight dumbfounded Yue Zihan and the others. Were they actually forcing the heavenly tribulation to stay behind? They had never seen such brazenness. The void continued to tear apart, and the lightning transformed into giant spears that pierced down upon the Dragonblood Legion. Long Chen stood in the air, with a lightning spear and lightning wings, breaking apart the rain of lightning. The Azure Dragon power is truly amazing. It was worth risking my life for it. Long Chen was experiencing the immense power of the Azure Dragon. The same Paragon arts were now even more terrifying with it. All of Lei Long's energy was concentrated within the spear and wings. As Lei Long absorbed more thunder force, its power also grew. The Dragonblood warriors down below were crazy with joy as they absorbed the lightning runes. This was a completely safe, quick, and painless way of getting stronger. Being with Boss is a fucking blessing. Gu Yang felt like he might cry from joy. The feeling of his strength rapidly growing like this was amazing. Their astral spaces were growing rapidly as they absorbed the lightning runes. The most excited one was Yue Ziaoqian. There had been a shadow left in her heart from almost dying during her tribulation in the immemorial path. However, she had now attacked the lightning tribulation repeatedly and didn't need to fear it. This was another reason why Long Chen had made her attack the tribulation. It was for her to overcome this heart devil. The lightning spears raining down from the sky were like the fury of the heavens, causing the world to shake. However, Long Chen had his own lightning spear that blocked all of them. Suddenly, one of the healing warriors coughed up a mouthful of blood. Cracks appeared all over her body in a horrifying fashion. She herself was also startled, not knowing what was going on. "You've reached your limit. Go rest and don't absorb any more thunder force," warned Long Chen. In the end, people had limits, and she had reached hers. In the next instant's worth of time, more and more Dragonblood warriors reached their limit. Some who still wanted to absorb more were shouted away by Long Chen. A limit was a limit. Any more and their bodies would explode. More and more Dragonblood warriors were forced to retreat. In the end, only the strongest experts were left. Meng Qi reached her limit first amongst the top experts. That was already a miracle. As a beast tamer, she hadn't expected to be able to last this long. Others also reached their limit right after her. The one to last the longest was Liu Ruyan, but she also reached a limit. This tribulation had been a stunning success. The fury of the heavens was gradually fading. However, just at that moment, Long Chen suddenly soared into the clouds. Break! Long Chen replaced his lightning spear with Evil Moon. A pitch-black saber image tore through heaven and earth. The giant tribulation clouds were split in two. "Damnable heavens, how do you like it?" sneered Long Chen. "Has he gone mad?" Yue Zihan covered her mouth. Boom! The tribulation clouds suddenly merged back fiercely. Booming noises rang out as if the world was roaring. Suddenly, giant lightning beasts began flying out of the tribulation clouds. They were of various forms, but were all lifelike. Their power caused the world to shake as if the world couldn't contain their power. Long Chen formed hand seals, and Lei Long appeared behind him. However, suddenly Long Chen became startled as he noticed that Lei Long didn't want to cooperate with him. Lei Long stopped making a fuss. "You can't eat that much anyway," said Long Chen. Surprisingly, Lei Long didn't want to open the spatial channel. It wanted to consume these lightning beasts itself. Ignoring whether or not it could even absorb that much, that the tribulation was reaching its end. It would quickly dissipate, so it didn't have time to devour them. Although it was unwilling, Lei Long was very obedient. Its body spun through the air, forming a spatial channel. Giant lightning drakes came flying out of that channel. Upon seeing the powerful lightning beasts of the tribulation, their eyes turned red. "Don't say that I'm not loyal. Today I'll treat you to a feast," laughed Long Chen. Chapter 1940. "Brother Long, I knew that you wouldn't forget us." Those lightning drakes excitedly pounded upon the tribulation beasts. They were the lightning drakes of the lightning field, and the strongest existences below the Silver Drake King. Back when Long Chen had come to an agreement with the Drake King, they had even helped him gain the Paragon art. They had also helped him out immensely in the yin-yang world. It just so happened that Long Chen could now repay them with this tribulation. These tribulation beasts contained divine lightning within them. That was the most precious type of energy to these lightning drakes. They crazily devoured them. Although these tribulation beasts were very powerful, they lacked intelligence. They only charged at Long Chen because Long Chen's attack just now had provoked the wrath of the heavens, causing the will of the tribulation to turn on him. These tribulation beasts only had one thought, and that was to kill Long Chen. They ignored the lightning drakes until the lightning drakes had already coiled around them. By then, they would just be devoured easily. Lei Long, lend me 90% of your energy, and send 10% to devour the lightning runes. After saying that, Long Chen raised Evil Moon. Lightning surged along Evil Moon as he slashed it toward a tribulation beast. The divine power of Lei Long and Evil Moon combined. The tribulation beast was blown apart into divine lightning runes and then devoured by Lei Long. Before Lei Long was even finished devouring those runes, Long Chen had moved onto the second. With Lei Long and Evil Moon working together, it was easy for them to kill the tribulation beasts. Brothers, hurry up, time's almost up. Long Chen saw that the tribulation clouds were growing sparse. By this time, any further attacks against them would be useless. He had exhausted all the power of this tribulation. If it was just one person undergoing tribulation, then there would have been little chance for even the five-colored tribulation lightning to appear. The reason the tribulation had so much energy was because there were over 10,000 Dragonblood warriors undergoing tribulation together. All the energy had now been forced out by Long Chen, and the energy of the heavens was fading. It could not punish Long Chen. The lightning drakes frantically devoured as much as they could. Sometimes, the tribulation beasts would be half devoured and still charge toward Long Chen while the lightning drakes moved on. It was easy for Long Chen to kill those stragglers. Only half of the tribulation beasts had been slain, but the tribulation was already starting to fade. The tribulation beasts began to return to heaven and earth. Suddenly, a silver claw stretched out of the channel, and a silver ripple spread, blowing apart those tribulation beasts. A large mouth then came out of the channel and devoured those lightning runes. The silver drake king had come. Long Chen, how could you not call me? The silver drake had attacked through the channel and taken the lightning runes. The channel that Long Chen had made this time was too small to fit it through though. Why did you come? Long Chen was startled. Long Chen, you had best give me an explanation, raged the silver drake king. It was speaking spiritually, so others couldn't hear. How could I possibly call you over something so tiny? This kind of snack shouldn't interest you. That's why I only invited your little brothers, and I'll invite you for the real feast later. Didn't you notice that this isn't even my own tribulation, it's the tribulation of my brothers? Only once I break through will there be a real feast. He, to tell the truth, I'm a bit worried that your stomach isn't big enough, said Long Chen. Are you telling the truth? Questioned the silver drake king. I disdain lying, Long Chen frowned. Cough, then it was my mistake. Now it's a bit awkward, said the silver drake. It really is a bit awkward. This little bit is barely enough food to get stuck between your teeth, but it's a good piece of meat to your brothers. As the boss, you can't be selfish, said Long Chen. Then what do I do? The silver drake king didn't know what to do now. It would be a blow if it admitted it was stealing food from its brothers. Fine, I'll help you, however, you have to help me when I need it too. Long Chen didn't give the drake king a chance to reply before announcing, how dangerous. Just now, the divine lightning beasts were about to fade away, but fortunately your king came to capture them in time. Quick, go back. Your dragon king is going to share the divine energy with you. Due to the dragon king attacking, the channel is about to reach its limit. I really envy you for having such a good boss. Long Chen seemed to sigh emotionally, giving a thumbs up. His words were very brilliant. The drakes naturally had no idea if they were true or false. They immediately became grateful to the drake king. Many thanks. The drake king expressed its thanks to Long Chen before leaving as well. His conning ability was unrivaled and had given it face. The tribulation disappeared and the lightning channel faded. All the energy of the tribulation had been spent, and the Dragonblood Legion's people had absorbed as much as they could for a perfect advancement. Quite a few corpses were floating on the surface of the sea now that the tribulation was over. Those corpses belonged to the sea demons that had been near. Due to the Dragonblood Legion's tribulation descending suddenly, some of the weaker ones hadn't had time to flee. Let's go. Long Chen waved his hand, and everyone went over to the spatial channel that Yue Zihan had already summoned. They returned to the skyscraping world. All of them were excited enough to shout. Most Life Star experts only had astral spaces around 100 miles wide at the start. Even rank 9 celestials would only have around 300 miles. The astral space contained one's world energy, but usually those below rank 9 celestials were not qualified to actually use their world energy. That was why the Dragonblood warriors were able to easily slay Life Star experts while in the soul transformation realm. Those Life Star experts were usually only around the level of rank 7 or 8 celestials. Those experts had not managed to catch the Great Era, and their cultivation bases had reached their limits, so those Life Star experts were not able to compare to today's heavenly geniuses. As for the Empyreans who were called heavenly geniuses, their astral spaces would normally be around 3,000 miles. Only at that level was it possible to bring out the full potential of the world energy in their astral spaces. In the yin-yang world, the army of Life Star Empyreans that had charged over was so powerful because they were able to control a bit of their world energy. However, since they had only recently advanced, they could only control a bit of it. This was why Xuanhuan was so terrifying in comparison. His realm had already stabilized at the first heaven stage of Life Star, allowing him to control his world energy. If Long Chen hadn't obtained the Azure Dragon reverse scale, he would have been crushed. No one knew how large Xuanhuan's astral space was, but right now, even the weakest healing warrior had reached an astral space of 30,000 miles. The Dragonblood warriors had all achieved astral spaces over 100,000 miles, with some reaching 150,000 miles. As for Gu Yang and the captains, they had astral spaces 300,000 miles wide. However, one person was so monstrous that their astral space was almost 1 million miles wide. That was Yue Zioqian. When that news spread, the original devil race was overjoyed. Gu Yang and the others were a bit upset by this immense difference, but Yue Zihan explained that it was due to the special cultivation technique of the original devil race. It had nothing to do with talent. The one to benefit the most from this tribulation was Yue Zioqian. She even had a deeper understanding of the profound spirit Tao scripture after experiencing this tribulation. Many areas that she hadn't understood were now clear to her. Long Chen told everyone not to care too much about the size of their astral spaces. That was just a portion of the power of the Life Star realm. There was something even more important, which was awakening their manifestations. Only upon reaching the Life Star realm was it possible to awaken their manifestations. However, that would require comprehension and luck. The tribulation had ended, so Yue Zihan found a secluded place for them to enter seclusion. They had to stabilize their realm first. Long Chen also didn't laze around. He went to the ancestral land of the original devil race and took out a mountain of medicinal pills. Opening his mouth, he activated the divine ability Swallow the Heavens, Devour the Earth. Those pills were like a flood entering his stomach. Runes lit up on his stomach, forming a foundation. This was the divine ability of the dark evil dragon race. Huo Long had been refining pills constantly, giving Long Chen a giant stockpile. Now, it was time to use it. Let's see what heaven stage I can reach now. Rumbling sounds rang out within Long Chen's stomach, like a volcano was erupting. Endless energy flowed through him. Chapter 1941. Long Chen's stomach was like a bottomless abyss. Runes flowed within his stomach, transforming the medicinal pills into immense spurts of energy. Millions of medicinal pills were transformed into streams of energy that spread throughout Long Chen's meridians. After absorbing the Azure Dragon Essence blood, even the Swallow the Heavens, Devour the Earth divine ability has strengthened. Long Chen was pleasantly surprised by this effect. The transformation of the Azure Dragon Essence blood went far beyond just his physical body. Long Chen, I find that my dark evil dragon race's divine ability matches you perfectly. You should consider devouring other life forms like the dark evil dragon race. That would allow you to get stronger even faster than devouring medicinal pills. Evil Moon couldn't help interjecting. The devouring divine ability that Long Chen was displaying was even more effective than it was in the dark evil dragon race. If Long Chen was willing to devour other experts to get stronger, he would have even better prospects. Having such a powerful divine ability used on just medicinal pills was a waste. That's all right, thank you. Long Chen directly rejected the idea. After all, he was a cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow. He couldn't rely on eating people to live. Long Chen's spiritual yuan suddenly began to roil. He felt like a furnace growing hotter and hotter. So quick, Long Chen was startled. It had been less than 15 minutes, but he felt himself be on the verge of breaking through. Boom! Long Chen's aura fiercely surged as he advanced to the 10th heaven stage of soul transformation. Boom! An incense stick's worth of time later, he advanced to the 11th heaven stage. Too fast, Long Chen was excited but also stunned. This kind of rapid advancement felt refreshing. An hour later, he once more advanced, reaching the 12th heaven stage. As his aura broke through, it began to grow stronger and spread out of his control. The void rumbled and the ancestral altar shook. I've already reached the Great Circle. Long Chen pushed himself to keep going. He wanted to advance to just before the 13th heaven stage, the point where he would be right before breaking through to Life Star. The void rumbled as Long Chen's aura grew more and more violent. The last 3 heaven stages of the 9-star Hegemon body art are always the strongest. I can't even control my own power. Long Chen's gaze was sharp. He actually had an urge to become the ruler of this world. It was like he was to be the ruler that all others would have to look up to. Anyone who defied him would be mercilessly annihilated. His killing intent also surged out of his control. One scene after another appeared in his head. People cursing him, people slandering him, people framing him, people hunting him, all those scenes floated through his mind. He suddenly let out a howl, his killing intent erupting. His head became murky. After an unknown amount of time, Long Chen woke up. The back of his head hurt, and when he touched it, he found an egg-sized lump. "Evil Moon, did you hit me?" demanded Long Chen angrily. "You needed to calm down. Just now you were almost bedeviled," said Evil Moon. It truly had been forced to attack Long Chen just now. Due to how long it had been with Long Chen, it was able to strike Long Chen before he could sense it. The 9-star Hegemon body art is too domineering. It doesn't allow anyone to betray its will. I've suppressed it for so long that now it's erupting. Long Chen was grave. Thinking of everything that had happened just now, he felt uneasy. You're too weak, but there's no way around it. You have things holding you back, so being unfettered is impossible for you. You always have to think of others, while true experts are not tied down by such things. Continuously suppressing it won't work. The longer you suppress it, the harder it will be to control when it erupts. You have to learn how to release this pressure and find your own domineering side. Otherwise, you will sooner or later be consumed, said Evil Moon. Long Chen nodded. Everything he had was given to him by the 9-star Hegemon body art, but as his cultivation base grew higher, he felt uneasier, as if the 9-star Hegemon body art was gradually taking control of his mind. He was forced to resist the 9-star Hegemon body art, and that was not a good thing. Evil Moon was correct when it said that this kind of resistance was not a solution. He had to find some way to release it. Long Chen lightly punched the air. As he did so, his spiritual yuan burst forth, unleashing a giant festimage. The energy follows the will. There's no need for me to circulate my spiritual yuan in advance. The great circle of the 12th heaven stage is truly powerful. Long Chen smiled. This feeling of being filled with strength was delightful. However, at the same time, he felt an urge to roar at the heavens. That urge was suppressed. He needed to stabilize his realm, or this power would cause his mental realm to become violent. Congratulations, you're just one step from advancing to Life Star. At this moment, Yue Zihan walked over gracefully. And Han, Long Chen hastily bowed. In front of others, he would call Yue Zihan the race leader as an expression of her status, but in private, he called her Aunt Han. After all, she was Yue Zioqian's mother and his future mother-in-law. First calling her aunt then mother was definitely right. As for Yue Zioqian's father, Long Chen had always been stifling that curiosity. He had never seen Yue Zioqian or anyone else raise this question, so he wasn't in a good position to ask. He had no idea what his future father-in-law was like. Your aura can easily harm other people's souls like this. You should rest for a few days until you can control it better, said Yue Zihan. Perhaps Long Chen didn't sense it, but Yue Zihan clearly felt a sharp, domineering air coming from Long Chen that was attempting to invade her soul. If weaker experts were present, they might be injured just by his aura. This was the aura of the 9-star Hegemon body art, wild and domineering, not differentiating between friend and foe. Any disciples below the Life Star realm wouldn't even dare to get close. Long Chen nodded. That was what he was planning. He had to first stabilize his realm before anything else. And Han, how is business going on the Martial Heaven continent? Asked Long Chen. Long Chen had been sending over more and more heavenly Dao fruits ever since the immemorial path. allowing more and more of the original devil race's disciples to walk on the continent without being found. They had started several businesses. To increase the profits, Long Chen had even proposed creating a black market business. Yue Zihan smiled. It was because of the heavenly Tao fruits that the original devil race finally had a chance to gather resources on the martial heaven continent. The skyscraping world was lacking in many resources, and they had been barely holding on before. They hadn't even had the ability to open channels to the outside world. Long Chen's arrival had completely changed the original devil race's fate. They were now conducting business on the continent, buying the resources that they couldn't obtain from the skyscraping world, which greatly increased the cultivation speed of their disciples. Even geniuses would be crippled without resources. That was the power of money. The business was doing very well before. We accumulated a great deal of wealth, and by working together with the Huyan sect, we gained many resources. However, close to half a year ago, we received pressure from various areas. Our black market business has become more difficult to conduct, with greater danger. We encounter violent customers and our profits are shrinking, sighed Yue Zihan. Why didn't you tell me this before? Long Chen was startled. Seeing her expression, he said, were you embarrassed? We're a family, so that's hurtful. In truth, Yue Zihan felt that such a minor matter wasn't worth troubling Long Chen over. They should have been able to resolve this issue on their own, but there was no effect despite their best efforts. After pondering for a moment, Long Chen said, half a year ago would be around when the various large powers began to secretly collude. They temporarily put aside their own enmities, so naturally the black market will become less efficient. That's the time when Pill Valley made agreements with those sects, and when the plan for the yin-yang world started. Just what kind of trump cards does Pill Valley have to make all those opposing powers join together against the Martial Heaven Alliance? Long Chen frowned. Pill Valley's announcement this time was clearly a bit rushed. There had to be something. The leaders of the large powers wouldn't join hands without certain benefits and assurances. They wouldn't attack an enormous existence like the Martial Heaven Alliance for nothing. Long Chen also thought of the words Luo Tianji said right before dying. He had barely gotten out that there was something behind Pill Valley before being killed. Just what was behind Pill Valley? Long Chen smelled danger. Chapter 1942. Seeing Long Chen in thought, Yue Zihan smiled and shook her head. After being isolated from the continent for so long, we're not skilled in this kind of scheming. Yue Zihan felt helpless in the face of Long Chen's suspicions. After all, the original devil race was united and didn't rely on dirty schemes. Compared to the Martial Heaven continent's experts, they were much purer. And Han pulled back all the disciples of the original devil race in the continent. I feel like Yu Zion's plot this time is on a much larger scale. Perhaps his goal isn't just the Martial Heaven Alliance. We should focus on safety first. As for the resource collection, I will think of something. I already have quite a few good things that you can use. There shouldn't be any shortage of resources, said Long Chen. He was unable to see through Yu Zion's plot. Yue Zihan nodded. Then I'll give the order right now. They can probably all be back in 5 to 7 days. Long Chen immediately shook his head. That's no good. Any large-scale movements would be too conspicuous. Who knows how many eyes Yu Zion has on the continent? We also don't know if their actions are to startle us into action. Any large-scale retreat would probably be falling right for his trap. We have to retreat without causing any noise at all. All right, then I'll send some people to do it immediately. Yue Zihan nodded. In just a moment, 2 elders walked in, but they came to a sudden stop when they saw Long Chen. The domineering aura being released from Long Chen made their hearts pound. Yue Zihan passed down Long Chen's orders. Once they were gone, Long Chen said, Aunt Han, are there any movements on the Martial Heaven continent lately? The current Martial Heaven Alliance is extremely tense, like a taut bow. Yue Zihan told him that after killing Huo Lian's physical body and erasing their spiritual marks to escape Yu Zion's hunt, the entire continent was shaken. In the yin-yang world, Long Chen had led the Dragonblood Legion and the Martial Heaven Alliance's disciples to slay over 2 million of the greatest geniuses of the various powers. Then they had faced off against over 30 Nether Passage experts, and Long Chen had even slain the Vice Island Master of Heavenly Fate Island. Then there had been a confrontation at the gates of the Martial Heaven Alliance, throwing the continent into chaos. Even an enormous entity like the Martial Heaven Alliance had been forced to the extent that they had to expel Long Chen. Who else in the world could contend against those powers? As for the matter of Pill Valley accusing Long Chen of colluding with the original devil race, no one actually believed it. This was the same old story of the boy who cried wolf. Pill Valley had tried using the same excuse to capture Long Chen multiple times now, but they had never brought out any real proof. This time was the same as there was no proof. People were already numb to this action of Pill Valley. They even felt that Pill Valley couldn't even come up with something new to be novel. They just used the same excuse over and over. Even once he was hunted down by countless experts under the pretense of this excuse, Long Chen was still capable of slaying Huo Lian's physical body and bringing his people away without the slightest harm. The entire continent now had an arrest warrant out for Long Chen. His picture was pasted throughout the streets of every major city. Apparently, Pill Valley was offering 10 half-step divine items and 10 billion spirit crystals as a reward to someone who offered up Long Chen's location, and they would guarantee their safety. 10 half-step divine items and 10 billion spirit crystals. Damn, I should just give myself up. Long Chen jumped. Pill Valley was truly willing to pay up. Speaking of which, there's something funny that happened recently. Your good brother, Mo Nian, apparently made quite a bit of money thanks to this matter. Yue Zihan laughed. What? In order to express their sincerity and provide more motivation, Pill Valley displayed the reward for others to see. Mo Nian disguised himself as you, and somehow in front of everyone, managed to take the divine items and spirit crystals before escaping on the earth-splitting divine shuttle. Even a dozen Nether Passage experts were unable to stop him from leaving. I heard that 2 of them coughed up blood from fury. Yue Zihan felt a bit of admiration for Mo Nian. To be able to take something away from a dozen Nether Passage experts, the name of the Western wretch was well-deserved. His disguise was apparently perfect. If it hadn't been for the earth-splitting divine shuttle, no one would have recognized him. This fellow actually got rich just like that. Next time I see him, I'll make him split the reward for using my name. Long Chen also laughed. This fellow Mo Nian was truly talented. Thinking about Mo Nian's style, Long Chen could imagine the infuriating words he had tossed out at that time. That was why 2 experts would cough up blood. However, the current martial heaven continent is mostly in turmoil. Everyone has to be on guard. The corrupt path, ancient races, ancient family alliance, Xuanhuan beasts, and even the Bloodkill Hall are running rampant as a display of power. They'll beat whoever they don't like, saying that those people are part of your group, and they'll even kill them. Most cultivators don't even dare to go out anymore. As for Heavenly Fate Island, it is currently saying that the Martial Heaven Alliance's destiny has come to an end to shake the hearts of the righteous sects. More of them are siding with Pill Valley, sighed Yue Zihan. Long Chen nodded. Yu Xuanhuan is ruthless and ambitious. When he acts furious and unable to control his emotions, it's an act to trick us. No matter how things went, it was within the margin of error, allowing him to benefit the most. As for Heavenly Fate Island, it's an extremely special existence on the continent. Some foolish people view them as gods, thinking that they really can read the future. How laughable. Just let them make noise for now. Once I'm fully recovered, I'll definitely properly slap their faces. Long Chen had a disdainful smile on his face. Heavenly Fate Island had continuously gone against him, and they were a great threat. Although they couldn't really read the future, they had some skills which had resulted in them almost costing him his life several times. Their debt to him had been accumulating for some time now. 2 days later, Long Chen came out of seclusion. His realm hadn't fully stabilized yet, but he couldn't keep waiting. The Dragonblood warriors were starting to come out of seclusion. Ha, I have a feeling like I'm completely unrivaled. I want a good opponent to test myself, Gu Yang laughed. His confidence had grown after advancing to the Life Star realm. Then why don't you go challenge boss? Asked Gu Ran with a chortle. If you always talk that way, you won't have any friends. Gu Yang deflated, shaking his head. No matter how arrogant Gu Yang was, he wouldn't dare to challenge Long Chen. Even if Long Chen was still in the soul transformation realm, Huo Lian hadn't been a match for him. Mengqi, Chu Yao, Tang Wan'er, Yue Zioqian, Liu Ruyan, and Cloud had gathered. Tang Wan'er in particular was excited at this feeling of having her power grow so much. Boss, didn't you say we should go directly for the first heaven stage? Why have you called us out again so early? Asked Li Qi. Because there's something that's bothering me. Furthermore, directly charging to the first heaven stage might leave behind a slight flaw. Since that's the case, let's slow down a bit. Everyone, come with me to search for Welda. It just so happens that we can slay some powerful magical beasts as well. Those are useful to me, said Long Chen. The last time he was in the skyscraping world, Wilda had charged into another world. He was supposed to eat until he was satisfied, but he actually ended up getting lost. Even after all this time, there wasn't any news of Wilda. Although Long Chen knew how powerful Wilda was, to say that Long Chen wasn't the slightest bit worried about him would be a lie. Wilda's head was too simple. Everyone stood in front of a spatial channel, and it was fully stable unlike before. Yue Zioqian explained, many of the magical beasts have been killed. Not only was it a good tempering for our warriors, but we also obtained quite a few resources that we could trade with the Hu Yun sect. Now, we've already begun searching through that world, gradually going deeper. We're looking for any valuable ores or resources that we can gather. However, we've just started our exploration of that world, so we don't dare to go too far. My mother told me that we have to be careful. If this world has some terrifying existence inside, disturbing it could bring calamity to the original devil race, so we must be careful. That's also why we haven't found Wilda yet. Long Chen led the Dragonblood Legion into the channel. The endless tide of magical beasts had vanished. There were hundreds of Life Star experts guarding the other side of the channel. Seeing Yue Zioqian, they all bowed. Seeing dozens of grand formations arranged on this side, Zia Chen said, establishing all of this must have cost quite a bit of money. Yes, we hesitated a long while before building them all. It was a gamble to see if there were any valuable resources here. If we win, we'll be rich, but if we lose, we'll have lost years of income. Yue Zioqian bitterly smiled. Don't worry about it, I have plenty of money, my money is your money. Long Chen smiled. With the primal chaos bead, he had a bottomless pit of money. Suddenly, in the distance, the earth exploded. A group of disciples of the original devil race fled over, a large pack of giant figures right on their tails. Chapter 1943. Not good, it's a 12th rank magical beast. Quick, activate the formation, shouted a Life Star expert of the original devil race. When a powerful 12th rank magical beast appeared, the disciples would lead them here and kill them with the formations. No need, using your formation will waste more spirit crystals than that magical beast is worth. Zia Chen shook his head. Xuanhuan had summoned his golden armor. Transforming into a golden shooting star, he shot toward the magical beast. A little 12th rank magical beast also dares to get arrogant. Xuanhuan unleashed a giant saber image at the magical beast. There were 7 disciples of the original devil race fleeing. They were originally 10, but 3 of them had been slain by that magical beast. The magical beast was a white rhinoceros, and it was like a galloping mountain. The ground rumbled and ruptured because of it. Xuanhuan's saber ruthlessly slashed into its head. A powerful shockwave spread, and the rhinoceros was sent flipping through the air. However, Xuanhuan also suffered. He was knocked back into the distance. The rhinoceros let out a furious roar. Its horns suddenly lit up, and a white light shot at Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan's about to suffer. Long Chen's lips curled as he watched Xuanhuan go all out to block. The white light passed straight through Xuanhuan. A layer of white rock had covered him as he had been turned to stone. He was still in his defensive posture. After landing this attack, the rhinoceros charged toward Xuanhuan to smash him apart. However, a flash of swordlight swept through its neck. Its head went flying, and blood soaked the earth. Yue Zifeng slowly sheathed his sword. After advancing to the Life Star realm, his attacks were even sharper and faster. He could one-shot a 12th rank magical beast. Cracking sounds rang out. Xuanhuan was still floating in the air as if he had been fixed there. His statue was shaking, and faint cracks spread along it. Eventually, the layer of stone on him blew apart. What happened? Asked Xuanhuan in confusion. You don't feel shame asking. That white rhinoceros was a full moon stone rhinoceros, and its divine ability is able to transform its enemies to stone. Even if you didn't recognize it, how could you not sense those spatial fluctuations? You just took its petrification ray head-on. If you were alone, you would have been smashed apart, scolded Long Chen. Sorry, boss, I got a bit arrogant. Xuanhuan was ashamed. After advancing to the Life Star realm, he felt 12th rank magical beasts to be beneath him, and he thought that he could crush it with pure power. Although Long Chen usually didn't bother with everyone's fighting styles, he was very strict with their battle attitude. They could not get careless. That could be a fatal mistake, so Xuanhuan hastily admitted his mistake. Long Chen snorted and didn't say anything else. Such a low-level mistake was truly a bit infuriating, but he couldn't criticize Xuanhuan too harshly. He reached out and tossed the white rhinoceros's corpse into the primal chaos space. The black soil devoured the corpse, unleashing plentiful life energy that nourished the withered world trees. However, a single 12th rank magical beast's corpse wasn't enough to cause too much of a change. The 7 disciples immediately thanked Long Chen and the others upon being saved. Yue Zioqian asked them how they had encountered a 12th-rank magical beast. It had to be known that it had been a long time since they had seen a 12th-rank magical beast in this region. There had been 12th-rank magical beasts before, but they had been slain by the elders of the formations. Now that 12th-rank magical beasts weren't seen very often, the original devil race had begun spreading and exploring more of this world. Reporting to the Sacred Daughter, we met with a sudden attack 21,000 miles southwest of the 7th Transportation Formation, answered one of the disciples. The original devil race had set this place as a base as they explored further. In the relatively safer places, they had established some small transportation formations. That saved them quite a bit of time. Using the channel as the base, they searched further and further. This squad of disciples had been searching unknown territory beyond the 7th Transportation Formation. Let's go take a look. Long Chen and the others stepped onto the transportation formation. However, it wasn't a large formation, so it could only fit 500 of them at once. They would have to go in batches. The formation runes lit up, and Long Chen found himself standing atop a mountain. This transportation formation was situated in a mountain range. Once they were there, Cloud transformed into her true form and brought them flying away. As soon as Cloud started flying, they were unable to see anything clearly. Cloud was too fast, and their vision was unable to track anything. They could only use their divine sense. Having advanced to the 11th rank, Cloud had grown larger, and her body now emitted a primordial aura. This advancement had greatly increased her power. Before this, she had only been able to refine a portion of the blue-eye peacock's essence blood. The majority of it had been sealed and stored inside her body. After advancing, she had managed to refine and absorb that stored energy. In the blink of an eye, Cloud appeared at the location that had been specified. Here there was a lake. Cloud returned to human form. Yue Zioqian looked at the marks on the ground and said, "This is definitely where they encountered the magical beast. This lake's fluctuations are a bit strange. Let's go take a look," said Long Chen. They had just approached the lake when the earth split open. A ferocious mouth flew up at them. However, that mouth had just opened when Liu Ruyan waved her hand. Branches shot out, binding the mouth tight. "What a big serpent!" exclaimed Xuanhuan. This serpent had some strange bark-like patterns on its head. Half its body was still hidden in the ground. "Get out here," Liu Ruyan pulled and the earth shuddered. The ground split open and a giant magical beast was pulled out. "What is this thing?" Startled cries rang out. Originally they had thought that it was a serpent, but it was actually a giant tortoise with a snake-like head. Suddenly its shell lit up, and rays of divine light shot out like heavenly swords. Their hair stood on end. Long Chen shot into action, smashing the giant shell with his fist. The shell was blown apart, and the rays of light crumbled. This strange tortoise actually died from having its shell broken. Long Chen tossed it into the primal chaos space. This tortoise wasn't that far from where the white rhinoceros had been. For two 12th-rank magical beasts to be so close to each other was definitely not ordinary. This made Long Chen think of the circular mountain range in the yin-yang world, where many magical beasts had gathered. Little Snow was currently being nourished in the egg at the center of that mountain range. "This might be a land of treasures. Everyone be careful. Xuanhuan, you lead the way," said Long Chen. Xuanhuan jumped, thinking that he was being punished. "Boss, I was wrong." "Stop messing around. You're the one with the best luck, so if you lead, we should find the treasures faster," interrupted Long Chen. If Long Chen was the one leading the way, they would definitely run into trouble. Hearing that he was taking the lead because of his luck, Xuanhuan immediately swaggered to the front. Surprisingly or unsurprisingly, Xuanhuan didn't encounter any problems. They bypassed a 12th-rank magical beast and it didn't attack them. It seemed to be slumbering. Long Chen was speechless. The existence known as luck was truly difficult to explain, but Xuanhuan was leading them through a peaceful path. They quickly arrived at the edge of the lake. Yue Zioqian bent down and touched the water with her hand. After sensing it for a moment, she said, "This water really is strange. There are some fluctuations of divine energy. It's very gentle and can be directly absorbed by the body. However, I don't know why this is the case." Even the erudite Yue Zioqian wasn't sure of what was going on. Long Chen scooped out a bit of the water and sniffed it. He then tasted it. This water contains a kind of mineral. If it is consumed over a long time, it can strengthen the bones and flesh. However, there are too many impurities, and it is not suitable for human bodies. It seems these 12th rank magical beasts are here because of the water. Maybe the reason why they were able to advance to the 12th rank is because of this water. So these surrounding magical beasts aren't here to attack the skyscraping world. They're defending their own territories around this lake. What we should do is investigate this lake's secrets. After all, this water is useless to us, said Long Chen. He turned to Xuanhuan. Boss, just tell me what you need and I'll do it. I won't shirk from a mountain of blades or a path of flames, guaranteed Xuanhuan. All right then, put on your armor. Immediately, Xuanhuan regretted his words. He had a bad feeling, but he had said his big words. Xuanhuan had only just put on his armor when Long Chen kicked him in the butt, sending him flying out. Like a skipping stone, Xuanhuan bounced across the lake, eventually plummeting into the water. Long Chen, what are you doing? Meng Qi and the others cried out in shock. It's fine, I'm just testing his luck. If his luck is really good, just this kick of mine should settle things, said Long Chen with a chortle. Suddenly, a golden light flew out, and Xuanhuan was now holding a golden rock. He excitedly cried out, Boss, I found the treasure. Everyone became petrified, so even this method could work. Chapter 1944. Xuanhuan flew over, clutching a golden stone. Would this little fellow be trying to con me? Even Long Chen was startled. His kick had actually just been for Xuanhuan to remember not to get arrogant, or he might lose his life. Boss, look, this is scarlet blood essence gold. It's a divine ore that can be used in forging divine items. Xuanhuan's eyes were blazing. Even his voice shuddered with excitement. Everyone couldn't help but jump. It really was a treasure. The ore that Xuanhuan was clutching was like gold with blood veins running through it. There was a faint divine energy coursing through it that was a bit similar to divine items. Yes, it's definitely scarlet blood essence gold, and this ore is extremely pure. You could probably refine 9/10 of a tael of the scarlet blood essence gold from a 3 feet square block of this ore. Is there more below? Asked Yue Zioqian. Yes, it's a huge ore deposit. I just grabbed a piece and immediately came to report it, said Xuanhuan. Boss, I can create divine items with this ore. You can actually forge divine items. Long Chen was startled. Just a bit. Xuanhuan was smiling brightly, but he actually acted low-key. That appearance made others want to kick him. Long Chen was truly shocked. It seemed that the ethereal crafting secret record Xuanhuan had obtained in the Geolai secret realm had truly shocking origins. It even included divine items. Although Long Chen was extremely disappointed in Xuanhuan when it came to cultivation, when it came to forging, he was only filled with admiration. If Xuanhuan was acting like this, then he was definitely confident in creating divine items. Even Long Chen was getting excited. The Dragonblood warriors had already advanced to Life Star, but only a portion of them had divine items. Moreover, most of those divine items also weren't weapons that they were suited to. In the yin-yang world, many divine items had been destroyed in combat, while the survivors had mostly fled. They hadn't gained very many. If Xuanhuan could create a matching armor and weapon that was on the level of divine items for each Dragonblood warrior, wouldn't they be able to flip the heavens? More and more Dragonblood warriors arrived from the transportation formation. It was only a moment later that they were all gathered. It seems we've really struck gold this time. Xuanhuan, well done. Long Chen patted Xuanhuan's shoulder. Now, Long Chen believed that Xuanhuan's luck was truly monstrous. It's all thanks to Boss' nurturing. Xuanhuan said humble words with the least humble expression. Everyone move out. Form up 10-man groups led by squad leaders and eliminate the magical beasts in the surroundings. But be careful. These magical beasts have advanced to the 12th rank thanks to this lake. Some of them possess strange divine abilities, so don't be careless, ordered Long Chen. Yes, the Dragonblood warriors' eyes lit up. Their power had grown so much that they were itching for some powerful opponents to test it against. They spread out along the lake. Very quickly, roars began to ring out. As expected, many 12th rank magical beasts were hiding in the vicinity. Long Chen, isn't it a bit dangerous for them to split into 10-man groups? Whispered Yue Zioqian. It's fine, 10 people is already very safe. These magical beasts were originally only at the 11th rank, and they relied on this lakewater to break through to the 12th rank. However, their bloodlines aren't very good, and their divine abilities aren't very strong as a result. There are level below 12th rank magical beasts that advance to that level thanks to their bloodline and talent. Even in a 1-against-1, I believe the Dragonblood warriors would be able to challenge them. As long as they aren't as careless as Xuanhuan, there will be no problem. And there's no one as careless about their life as Xuanhuan in the Dragonblood Legion, said Long Chen. Boss, I was wrong. Xuanhuan raised his hands in surrender. He knew that Long Chen was still angry about his previous display. Seeing this, Long Chen hoped that he would finally remember this lesson. The Dragonblood Legion was rapidly spreading throughout the surroundings, and rumbling rang out in the distance. Their fights were extremely intense. Boss, should we go help? Probed Gu Yang. Can you grow up a bit? Are the captains really interested in fighting over other people's prey? Scolded Long Chen with a smile. It's not fighting over prey. Seeing them fight just makes my hands itchy. Gu Yang scratched his head. The others laughed. Gu Yang was saying what they were all thinking. Having advanced to the Life Star realm, they all wanted to know just how strong they were. However, Long Chen's meaning was clear. These weren't very powerful 12th rank magical beasts, and they would be left to the ordinary Dragonblood warriors as training targets. They weren't for the captains. Xiaoqian, does the original devil race have the ability to refine ores? Asked Long Chen. Yes, we do, but that's limited to ores on the level of ancestral items. We also have the tools to refine material on the divine item level, but they've been wasting away for countless years. I don't know if anyone is still capable of using them, said Yue Xiaoqian. The original devil race had declined from their peak, and they had barely been able to scrape by. Furthermore, what were they supposed to refine while they had been blocked from the martial heaven continent? Whatever they refined couldn't be sold. As a result, the original devil race had been stuck in a vicious negative feedback loop. Many of their old inheritances had been lost. Refining ores was expensive and required investment. Even the current original devil race that was recovering couldn't quite refine this ore. As long as you have the ability, it's fine. I'll think of something, said Long Chen. More and more magical beasts were startled awake. The Dragonblood warriors were slaying them one by one. These magical beasts were quite a bit weaker than 12th rank magical beasts that had advanced thanks to their powerful bloodlines. Hence, the Dragonblood warriors were able to kill them in just a few exchanges. In the 10-man squads, some of the members didn't even get a chance to fight before the target was slain. 2 hours later, 2,300 12th rank magical beasts had been slain. The battle spoils went to Long Chen's primal chaos space. The immense life energy had made the world trees flourish once more, and the yin-yang immortal grass on the edge of the black soil had grown larger. It was filled with life and death energy. However, for some reason, the yin-yang immortal grass didn't possess the slightest spirituality. There were no signs of it growing a consciousness like the yin-yang immortal grass in the yin-yang world. It seemed that raising a yin-yang immortal grass like that one wasn't possible. However, it could still help him out. After the surrounding magical beasts were killed, Long Chen ordered the few water elemental warriors of the Dragonblood Legion to suck away the lake water with their magical arts. As the water level dropped, it revealed a giant mountain at the bottom. That mountain looked like it had been made of gold. Xuanhuan hadn't lied. There was a giant mineral deposit here thousands of miles wide. There were also dozens of magical beasts that had been hiding in the water, but they were slain as soon as they were exposed. Once the silt at the bottom of the lake was cleaned up, they were looking at an impressive golden mountain. We're rich, this ore deposit is huge, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. Based on the terrain at most, the part that's exposed above ground is just half of the total deposit, said Yue Xiaoqian excitedly. Once this news was sent back to the original devil race, her people would definitely be overjoyed about it. Just the value of this one mineral deposit far surpassed the price of establishing the spatial channel and the grand formations. Even if they didn't gain anything else, they had profited. Xiaoqian, alert the seniors of the original devil race. It would be best if they established a transportation formation right here. Don't worry about saving money. Our time is more precious, said Long Chen. All right, Yue Xiaoqian sent a message through the original devil race. Some elders should quickly be rushing over. Xuanhuan, you stay behind. Work together on excavating and refining this ore. Give me an estimate on how long and how expensive it will be. You're an expert in this regard, so I trust you, said Long Chen. As expected, this bit of praise revitalized Xuanhuan. He solemnly said, Boss, go in peace. I'll handle things here. Are you cursing me to die? Long Chen glanced at Xuanhuan. I misspoke. I definitely didn't have that intention, Xuanhuan apologized. Fine then, everyone else continue with the previous arrangement. Stay in your 10-man squads and spread out. You have compasses that are locked onto the spatial channel so you won't get lost. If there's anything suspicious, mark it down and alert the higher-ups. Make sure to be careful, said Long Chen. The Dragonblood warriors hastily flew off, spreading in every direction like a flood. Long Chen didn't give them any direction to go, so they could run wherever they wanted. No one knew where Wilda had run off to. Whether or not they could find him was up to luck. We should go as well. Each one of us will go in one direction. Hopefully, we can find Wilda. Long Chen picked a direction. Lightning wings appeared on his back and he shot away. Meng Qi, Chu Yao, and the others also chose their directions and flew away. Chapter 1945. Long Chen didn't see any signs of intense battle as he flew through this world. Wilda's battle style was completely different from magical beasts, so it should be easy to tell if he had been somewhere. Only once Long Chen had been flying for a while did he find that this world was lacking any civilization. There were no advanced lifeforms here. Magical beasts ruled this world. He encountered quite a few 12th-rank magical beasts that blocked his path, but they were all killed by him. The magical beasts in this world were much more concentrated. Hence, even 12th-rank magical beasts only had a tiny bit of territory. Some of the weaker magical beasts were forced to roam on the edges of the more powerful magical beasts' territories. The spiritual qi in the air is very dense. The earth is fertile enough to give rise to spirit grasses that can raise so many magical beasts, but it hasn't given rise to a food chain collapse. How curious. In any world there needed to be an equilibrium. The big fish ate the small fish ate the worms. He couldn't comprehend how this world was able to maintain its order when there were so many powerful magical beasts present in such close quarters. The further he went, the stronger the magical beasts became. Although they were still at the 12th rank, there were immense differences in their level. For humans, the Nether Passage realm was split into 4 stages: the initial life and death realm, the life realm, the death realm, and the samsara realm. The difference between these 4 levels was immense. Of all the experts that Long Chen had encountered, the only ones he knew that had reached the 3rd step, the death realm, were the grand elders of the Martial Heaven Alliance. As for the 4th realm, the samsara realm, he knew of no one who had reached that level. However, Long Chen did guess that the High Priest was a legendary existence at the peak of Nether Passage realm, based on how he had so easily resolved Xuanhuan and the old man's attacks. However, that was just a suspicion, and he couldn't say for sure. As for 12th-rank magical beasts, their ranking wasn't as clear, but the human race had also divided them into 4 levels. They were split into the early, mid, late, and peak stage 12th-rank magical beasts. Usually, their bloodlines decided their limits. Some magical beasts would never be able to advance past the early 12th rank due to their bloodlines. The magical beasts he saw as he was flying were still all at the early 12th rank. But even though they were still at the early stage, their actual combat power was increasing as he went in deeper. Perhaps this world has a terrifying existence in control of it. No wonder Aunt Han doesn't dare to go openly explore it. Boom! Long Chen was in the midst of thinking when a giant flame sphere shot at him. Hence he unleashed a punch, blowing apart the flame sphere. As soon as he did so, a giant mouth swallowed him. The mouth had just closed when a saber image pierced its head. Long Chen cut off the majority of this giant head. A giant figure fell to the ground. It was a lion in golden fur. The explosive flame golden lion. Long Chen was startled. This magical beast was quite famous for its power. For its fur to all be a perfect golden color, it clearly had quite a pure bloodline. Hesitating, Long Chen decided not to throw it into the primal chaos space. Its hide was a luxury item that could be sold for a great profit. Such explosive flame golden lions were almost gone from the Martial Heaven continent. He could sell it for a tidy profit. Consuming it for life energy would be a pity. He had just flown away when he suddenly noticed a giant lair on a mountain. There were 5 furry fellows lying inside. Young ones. Long Chen was delighted and immediately flew over. A giant cave had been dug into the mountain, and a giant hideout had been made out of bones. The smell was difficult to bear. 5 explosive flame golden lions were lying inside, and they were sound asleep. Each of them was only a couple dozen meters long. Ha ha ha, I've found a treasure. These 5 explosive flame golden lions would definitely possess great killing power if they were raised properly and fought alongside their masters. Long Chen placed them inside a life ring. they were still too young to resist. Amazing. They're much more impressive than the blood-pattern lion vulture that Xuanhuan and the others had found before, and it just so happens that Xuanhuan, Gu Yang, Li Qi, Song Minjuan, and Yue Zifeng can each have one. Long Chen smiled. He could already see the day when they raised them into powerful beasts. Furthermore, with a beast tamer like Meng Qi present, they would be raised perfectly, with special resources that would stimulate their bloodline. They would be much stronger than if they grew up in the wild. This truly was a good place. Long Chen suddenly had a thought. What if he could find each dragonblood warrior a powerful 12th rank magical beast as a steed? Just how awe-inspiring would they appear then? Long Chen continued onward. He didn't know if the 5 explosive flame golden lions had ended up using up all his luck or not, but he didn't encounter any particularly powerful magical beasts again, let alone young ones that could be captured. For 3 days he continued flying, and the magical beasts started to grow sparse. Long Chen gradually began to have a bad feeling. He smelled danger ahead. He was about to continue carefully exploring this region when he suddenly took out a jade plate. Wilda, S been found. Long Chen didn't care what danger was ahead. He returned down his original path. When he arrived at the ore deposit they had found, he saw millions of experts from the original devil race busy excavating the ore and bringing it to the skyscraping world. "Boss, we've found Wilda's whereabouts, but we've run into trouble. Wilda's being chased down by some terrifying monster and is in a critical situation. These are the coordinates." One of the Dragonblood warriors immediately gave Long Chen another jade plate upon seeing him. "I understand. You continue waiting here for the others." Long Chen nodded and rushed off in the direction indicated by the jade plate. He was flying as fast as he could, but it was a full 12 hours before he arrived at the coordinates. Wilda was nowhere to be seen. Instead, all Long Chen saw was a ruined battlefield. Sensing the surroundings in disarray, he suddenly flew to the left. After an incense stick's worth of time, he heard intense rumbling sounds coming from in front of him. The ground was shaking intensely. Once he was closer, he saw a giant figure. It was actually a giant pitch-black ape. It had thorn-like fur and a pair of golden eyes. There were runes flickering within its golden eyes. It held a bone club and was crazily roaring. In front of the giant ape, Long Chen saw Gu Yang, Li Qi, Song Minjuan, Yue Zifeng, Liu Ruyan, Chu Yao, and over 2,000 Dragonblood warriors. Everyone was rushing over here as fast as possible, but the others were still on their way. Behind them, Long Chen saw Wilda, who was covered in blood. His original robes were nothing more than tattered rags, so he was wearing a beast hide. He held a giant bowl and was crazily eating from it. The bowl held 12th rank magical beast corpses that had been shrunk down. Wilda was scarfing them down like a hungry wolf. Boom! The giant ape's bone club smashed down, and Li Qi and Song Minjuan's earth giants were blown apart by that one attack. Both of them were forced to hastily block with divine items. As a result, their divine items also exploded. The two of them let out a muffled groan as they were sent flying. Even after advancing to the Life Star realm and gaining control of a bit of world energy, they were unable to block that ape's attack. The ape's bone club once more smashed down, but wooden stakes suddenly shot out of the ground like pythons, binding the ape. At the same time as Chu Yao took action, Liu Ruyan unleashed waves of branches that were like chains, also attempting to bind the ape. The ape suddenly roared and a savage aura erupted. The runes in its eyes lit up, and Chu Yao and Liu Ruyan's bindings were blown apart. "How is this possible?" exclaimed Chu Yao as she fell back. "Just why was this giant ape so powerful?" Suddenly, a black light sword pierced down from the sky. It accurately struck the giant ape right in the head, but the giant ape was only knocked back a bit. That attack barely caused it to bleed. The ape was enraged, and it swung its club through the air at the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow that had just come. Cloud twisted through the air, narrowly avoiding this attack. Meng Qi called out, "Everyone be careful. This is a golden eye berserk ape. It's an ancient species, and although it's a magical beast, it's incredibly powerful. There are already 3 golden spots in its eyes, meaning it has advanced to the late 12th rank and is comparable to Death Realm Netherpassage experts. Its bone club is also very strange and possesses its own divine abilities. Even half-step divine items will be smashed apart upon contact." As a beast tamer, Meng Qi even knew magical beasts that only existed in legend. Hearing that it could match Death Stage Netherpassage experts, everyone jumped in shock. No wonder it was so powerful. "Sister Meng Qi, what is its weak spot? How can we beat it?" asked Chu Yao. It has no weak spots. We have to take advantage of while it still hasn't gone berserk to run. Cloud can swallow us again and... Watch out. Just at this moment, the golden eye berserk ape grabbed its giant bone club with both hands, and divine light lit up on it. That light enveloped Ming-Chi and Cloud. In that instant, they were shocked to find that they couldn't move. The golden eye berserk ape roared and smashed the club at them. Wilda put away his bowl, shooting out like a bolt of lightning at it. However, just as Wilda shot out, an evil air filled the world. A black saber slammed into the bone club. Chapter 1946. Boom! Evil Moon smashed right into the bone club. The sound of their collision was bizarre as countless divine runes clashed against each other. Powerful astral winds erupted, and an irresistible force blew back the others. Boss! The world shuddered as Long Chen pressed down as hard as he could with Evil Moon. However, he felt the golden eye berserk ape's power grow stronger and stronger. He couldn't stop it. Long Chen, don't anger it. It's going to go berserk, shouted Ming-Chi. The runes in the ape's eyes were revolving faster and faster. That was a sign it was going to enter its berserk state. Wilda, attack it from behind. Whether or not we can beat it depends on you, shouted Long Chen. Suddenly, Long Chen's aura changed. A powerful dragon might soared out of him. He was actually activating his spirit blood, and all the dragon blood warriors shook. Their own blood was resonating. The golden runes in the ape's eyes instantly became sluggish. For the first time, it appeared a bit afraid. Boom! The ape was suddenly blown back by Long Chen's saber. It stumbled back 3 steps, each step causing the ground to shake and crumble. However, just as it was about to stabilize itself, a giant figure appeared behind it. Wilda had actually transformed into a silver giant. He was the same size as the golden ape, and he suddenly bit down on its neck. The golden eye berserk ape roared. It tried to shake off Wilda, but Wilda refused to let go. He began to rip out chunks of its flesh with his teeth. Wilda managed to tear all the way down to the bones, but then even those bones crunched and broke. Wilda's teeth were shockingly sharp. The golden eye berserk ape tried to enter its berserk state, but it failed over and over again due to Long Chen's dragon might. The bones in its neck eventually shattered, and it lost balance. At that moment, Long Chen stabbed it through its head, killing it. It died without being able to unleash its true power. Once its corpse fell to the ground, Wild returned to his normal size. He ran over to Long Chen, his eyes red. "Brother Long, I missed you. I was looking for you everywhere, but I never found you." Large tears squeezed out of Wilda's eyes. He had gotten lost not long after entering this world, but in his panic upon finding he was lost, he found that he had no idea how to return. He had been looking for the way back all this time. It could be said that it had been a kind of torment for him, so he was emotional enough to cry upon seeing Long Chen. "Good brother, it's fine, aren't I right here?" comforted Long Chen. Wilda had grown even stronger, but his heart was still as pure as ever. He was still that brother who would take a whip for someone just because of a bun. Long Chen felt some shame. He had thought that Wilda would know that all he had to do was eat and sleep. He hadn't thought that Wilda was so dependent on him. After comforting him, Long Chen asked what had happened during his time in this world. By now, all the Dragon Blood warriors had already arrived. However, the newcomers were too late. The battle had already ended. They came over to greet Wilda. Last time, when Wilda woke up, Long Chen had brought him to the skyscraping world before they had gotten time to catch up. With everyone gathered, Wilda began to tell a story. However, his childlike way of thinking meant it was difficult to piece together the whole story. Even his memories weren't very connected. However, they came to a general understanding that Wilda had been hunting down powerful magical beasts upon entering this world. But only when he was full did he realize he didn't know the way back. Wilda had been working hard to return, but he had actually been getting further and further away. When he was hungry, he would kill some magical beasts. Once he was full, he would continue searching. After several months, it was unknown just how many magical beasts he had killed. Wilda's horns had turned silver now, with silver runes flowing on top of them. A fiendish aura came from them that frightened the others despite knowing that Wilda was on their side. Perhaps it was because he had consumed too many magical beasts, but Wilda's body now had a desolate aura around it. His giant body, which was close to 6 meters tall, was bulging with energy. It was like he could smash a person apart with a punch. They instinctively felt on guard against him. The sight of Wilda tearing into the golden eye berserk ape's flesh repeatedly was many times more frightening than the sight of a magical beast eating. After all, Wilda was in human form. Wilda didn't even realize how much stronger he had gotten. All his focus had been on returning home. Regretfully, he had ended up charging even deeper into this foreign world. The original devil race was unable to go that deep. This time, Wilda had been hunted down by the golden eye berserk ape, and coincidentally ran into the area that the Dragonblood Legion had been searching. "Wilda, how did you provoke this golden eye berserk ape?" asked Meng-Chi. "It seems I ate a few apes that looked like it. I got beaten pretty badly at the time and it wasn't easy to run away, but after eating some more I snuck my way back. I wanted to take its club. It's definitely a treasure and it's really painful being hit by it. I needed such a weapon, but I didn't succeed in sneaking away with it, so we started fighting. With its club I couldn't beat it, so after I started feeling hungry again, I had to run away. But the second time it chased me down, then I ran into you guys." Wilda rubbed the bone club with a happy smile. "How heavy?" Long Chen tried to pick up the club, and he almost failed. The current Long Chen had already undergone the transformation of the Azure Dragon Essence blood, but the club was still almost too heavy for him to pick up. Seeing Long Chen's expression change, Gu Yang also walked over. He tried to hold it, and as a result, as soon as Long Chen lightened his hold, Gu Yang's body sank into the ground. Long Chen hastily picked the club back up. Even Gu Yang was unable to carry such a heavy object without activating the dragon blood battle armor. As for Wilda, he wielded it easily. Clearly, his power had reached an inconceivable level during this time. "This bone club is a remnant of an ascender. If this club was left behind by a magical beast from this world, then we're really in danger," said Yue Xiaoqian after closely examining the bone club. Its origins had to be terrifying. It was even able to easily smash apart half-step divine items. Long Chen understood. Yue Xiaoqian was worried that this bone club might have been left behind by some unknown race. If that race still existed, then the original devil race would be in trouble now that they were exploring their world. It might result in the destruction of their race, just like Yue Zihan feared. "Let's go back. We'll leave a mark for this place and make it off-limits in the future. Also, make a mark for the area that's already been explored. In the future, our original devil race can just move about in this small region," said Long Chen. "In any case, the area that the Dragonblood warriors have explored during this time should be large enough for you to spend decades looking through carefully." Yue Xiaoqian nodded. After that, Wilda took the corpse of the golden eye berserk ape. He said that its flesh was very beneficial to him. He could eat it for a long time, and this was the biggest ration he had ever gained in all of history. On the way back, Long Chen learned that everyone had made many gains. They had killed an uncountable number of 12th-rank magical beasts. In fact, each person managed to obtain several eggs or some young of magical beasts. "Boss, we can give everyone a 12th-rank magical beast as a steed." Gu Yang was extremely excited. If the Dragonblood Legion rode into battle on over 10,000 12th-rank magical beasts, just how imposing would that be? There was no such precedent in the Martial Heaven continent. "What about these?" Long Chen handed over a life ring. Gu Yang opened it and took out the 5 furry fellows inside. "Wow, what cute little fellows." "These are explosive flame golden lions," exclaimed Meng-Chi instantly. "Are these lions powerful?" asked Gu Yang. "Of course they're powerful. These explosive flame golden lions possess extremely pure bloodlines based on the color of their fur. If they are given the right medicines and nutrients to stimulate their potential, they'll definitely enter the mid-12th rank after maturing. Even the late 12th rank is possible." "The late 12th rank, so they would be as powerful as that golden eye berserk ape." "No, that's impossible. The golden eye berserk ape is actually more terrifying than you imagine. It was simply cowed by Long Chen's dragon might, so it was unable to enter its berserk state. If it was in its berserk state, then even a true third-step nether passage expert would have to avoid it. As for us, we'd have to run for our lives. There's no way that the explosive flame golden lions can compare to it, but they're still very powerful. They also possess an innate flame energy which will be extremely helpful in the future if they're properly raised." Upon saying that, Meng-Chi smiled. "Most importantly, once they've matured, they'll be powerful and look impressive. You'll definitely fall in love with them." Gu Yang and the others learned that these 5 explosive flame golden lions were actually being left to the 4 captains and Gu Ran, so they were delighted. They had found Wilda, explored a large region, and obtained plentiful gains. They excitedly returned back to the base. Chapter 1947, 1947. Wilda's return lifted a weight from Long Chen's heart. After a thorough examination of Wilda's body, Long Chen found that Wilda was truly a monster. His body was even a bit tougher than Long Chen's. It had to be known that Long Chen's body had been reconstructed by the Azure Dragon Essence blood. It had finally finished the reconstruction, bringing him to an unprecedented power level. But Wilda's physical body was even stronger than his. As for the Bone Club, Wilda adored it. The curious thing was that despite not knowing any magical arts, Wilda could transform the Bone Club size according to his will. Wilda finally had a weapon that he loved. The Dragonblood Legion celebrated Wilda's return for 3 days with a feast. Once the celebration was over, Xuanhuan took Long Chen away for a private chat. "Boss, there's several times more Scarlet Blood Essence gold than we expected. Do you want to sell some of the ore for money?" asked Xuanhuan. "Are we lacking money?" Xuanhuan nodded. "Yes, I've finished the estimates you asked me to do. Creating a perfect armor and weapon set on the divine item level for 12,000 people will require a shocking amount of supplementary material. I feel like I might have bragged a bit harder than I could. Creating divine items takes a long time, and we lack the foundation for that." Xuanhuan was speaking the truth. Divine items were not so easy to create. Even if Xuanhuan had the ability, the cost would be enough to make someone crazy. Xuanhuan had only made an initial calculation, and there were many other things that hadn't been factored in yet. Hence, he was already feeling like this wasn't possible. That was why Xuanhuan wanted to sell some of the Scarlet Blood Essence gold. However, he didn't know the market price of it, so he would need to calculate how much could be sold, and for how much profit before taking the next step. "We can't sell the Scarlet Blood Essence gold. We don't just need to outfit ourselves, but we also need to equip the original Devil race, our allies. Speaking of which, is the original Devil race's equipment capable of refining the ore?" The original Devil race's foundation is extremely amazing. Their equipment is marvelous, and although it's been set aside for countless years, all of it is undamaged. The race leader has already ordered some forging masters to begin studying the techniques for forging divine items. They have their own forging arts, and those forging masters were previously capable of creating ancestral items. All they need is some practice, and they should be capable of using the special crafting methods of the original Devil race to create divine items. Xuanhuan was filled with praise for the original Devil race's techniques and tools. They were truly worthy of an existence that had survived for eons. Although they had declined, their inheritance had not been severed. In other words, we have the skills, the equipment, the people, and can get any materials. We're just lacking money. Yes, that's about right. Crafting divine items requires some auxiliary materials. Buying those materials is possible, but it requires a shocking amount of money, said Xuanhuan gravely. "How much money do you estimate?" "Even in the best-case scenario, we would need this much." Xuanhuan raised 5 fingers. 50 billion spirit crystals. Despite being prepared for that number, Long Chen was still shocked. "Boss, it's 500 billion spirit crystals, and that's a conservative estimate. Once we really start crafting, that number might get broken through in an instant." Xuanhuan bitterly smiled. 500 billion spirit crystals. Xuanhuan didn't even dare to imagine just how much money that really was. This was the lowest estimate for creating 12,000 sets of armor and weapons on the divine item level. This number was only so low because they had the Scarlet Blood Essence gold. Long Chen sucked in a cold gasp of air. It had to be known that the entire reconstruction of the Xuanhuan Dao sect had cost under 10 billion spirit crystals. Creating these divine items would be equivalent to building 50 Xuanhuan Dao sects. The current Xuanhuan Dao sect was number 1 in the eastern Xuan region and possessed the strongest foundation. It was a foundation that Long Chen had created with money. At that time, to reconstruct the sect, he had been rushing everywhere, getting a lot of spirit crystals from the Huyun sect and the Corrupt Path, as well as the money that the Xuanhuan Dao sect possessed itself, and only then had they managed to finish the construction. However, now they needed 500 billion spirit crystals. The Dragonblood warriors need these divine items. No matter how much money it takes, we need to do it. People like Hu Liyun, True Immortal Jiaoqi, Zai Luo, Dai Feng, and the others have top-grade divine items. If they charged into the Dragonblood Legion in their current state, there would be heavy losses. I'll think of something for the money issues. Has the refinement of the Scarlet Blood Essence gold already started? We started the refinement the day after we found the ore, said Xuanhuan. After all, even if Long Chen wanted to sell it, they could sell the already refined scarlet blood essence gold for even more money. The original devil race had a great deal of manpower, and the equipment was readily available. Using it was very convenient, so they were very efficient. All right, keep an eye on things. Do your best to extract as much scarlet blood essence gold as you can. As for the other requirements, give me a list. A while later, Long Chen received a list with hundreds of divine materials that they needed. Creating a divine item required many materials. Long Chen didn't know anything about this regard, so he simply put the list away. He gathered everyone up, making them go into seclusion. They had to raise their cultivation bases to the first heaven stage so that they could truly control their world energy. The Dragonblood warriors' confidence, which had risen thanks to advancing to the life star realm, had been suppressed by the golden eye berserk ape. That was even better for their cultivation. After arranging this, Long Chen said goodbye to Yue Zihan, once more entering the martial heaven continent from the original devil race's transportation formation. Fuck, I'm finally back. Pill Valley, come at me. Smelling the familiar scent of the martial heaven continent, Long Chen smiled. He rushed off. The first place he wanted to go was the eastern Xuan region. This time, he had no disguise. He swaggered into the eastern Xuan city brazenly. When he arrived, he caused a clamor. Countless experts fled as if fleeing from a demon. Long Chen ignored them and walked directly into the Huyun pavilion in the city. Within the pavilion, he saw Zhang Wenlong. Brother Long, for you to see me urgently, it seems you have some big business for me. Zhang Wenlong laughed. I'm sure Brother Wenlong is a busy man. Each blink of an eye probably represents hundreds of thousands of spirit crystals to you. If I didn't have something big for you, how could I waste your time? Long Chen also laughed. My Huyun sect is just a little business that invests its capital to make interest, but Brother Long is an empty-handed wolf with no capital. So tell me, what kind of stolen goods do you want me to get rid of this time? Zhang Wenlong poured a cup of tea for Long Chen before sitting down. Long Chen received the cup with a bitter smile. The pillar that the Huyun sect is grooming is still drinking the same tea as back then. No wonder it's said that the richer someone is, the stingier they are. This tea was the same tea that Zhang Wenlong had used back in the eastern wasteland. This kind of tea no longer suited Zhang Wenlong's high status. Haha, isn't this called not forgetting my original heart? Back then, we both had to bitterly save up everything that snowballed us into our current levels. Don't look at my high status and think that life is easy for me now. The pressure is immense. Pill Valley in particular has been pressing on us lately, making our business more difficult to carry out. Brother Long, hurry and give me some new business or I'll starve, said Zhang Wenlong. I find that you business people really like to talk about being poor the richer you get. Look at me. I never cried that I was poor, not because I didn't want to cry, but because I didn't have the energy to cry, said Long Chen. Zhang Wenlong laughed. All right, then when it comes to crying about being poor, I'm not your match. Let's circle back to the main topic. What business do you have for me this time? I'm lacking money and a great deal of it, so I want to sell some things to you. Lacking money is no problem, as long as you have good products. The current Zhang Wenlong had a high position. Hua Mingxing had followed Ma Ryan's suggestion and given Zhang Wenlong even more authority. Let's eat while we talk about it. Long Chen took out a large baking tray and put strips of fish meat on top of it. As a result, popping sounds rang out as the oil boiled, and a fragrant scent filled the air. Haha, Brother Long's cooking definitely isn't ordinary. It seems my mouth will be blessed. Zhang Wenlong knew that with Long Chen's character, he wouldn't bring out something unless it was good. When the fish was ready, he took a bite of it. Fragrance erupted, and it dissolved in his mouth. He felt all his pores open and his blood quicken. Some kind of energy merged into his blood. This is. Eat some more and you'll be able to guess. Long Chen also took a piece of fish for himself. Zhang Wenlong took some more bites, his expression gradually changing. This is scarlet blood spirit fish. For it to be this big, it has to be a fish king level. You actually ate it like this. The scarlet blood spirit fish was the most precious ancient spiritual life form. Their blood could stimulate a person's spirit blood, awakening their hidden potential. Their value was inestimable. However, if this fish was cooked, it would lose 80% of its energy, so Zhang Wenlong was staring at Long Chen in disbelief. This is the only way to not bring down your new status. Long Chen smiled. You actually ate such a precious natural treasure. I'm afraid of facing karmic retribution. Zheng Wenlong bitterly smiled, but since the fish had been cooked, he ate some more. Brother Wenlong, one of the things I came with today is the scarlet blood spirit fish. Do you feel like selling them would be profitable? Chapter 1948, 1948. Of course it'll be profitable. My guess would be that you obtained the scarlet blood spirit fish in the yin-yang world. I'll tell you this. In the past few days, some people in possession of scarlet blood spirit fish have come to auction them off in our auction houses. As a result, one scarlet blood spirit fish that was 1 foot long was sold for 300,000 spirit crystals. After that auction, the rest of the continent went mad, with all the various powers trying to obtain the scarlet blood spirit fish. Some ancient families in particular went crazy. Much of the blessings of their ancestors have been lost, so they want to use the scarlet blood spirit fish to awaken that power. As for this fish that we're eating, it has reached 3 feet in length. It can count as a fish king, and the price could surpass 3 million spirit crystals. Such a waste of money. I hope the wealth god doesn't punish me. Such extravagance is against one of the Huyan sect's 8 commandments. Zheng Wenlong bitterly smiled. Hee, that's good. What extravagance. Accompanying a client to a meal is very normal. Eat some more. Long Chen was delighted to hear that the scarlet blood spirit fish was so valuable. The reason for their popularity wasn't just because of their miraculous abilities to awaken someone's bloodline. Another aspect was their delicious taste. It was irresistible. Although Zheng Wenlong complained about this being too luxurious, his chopsticks never stopped. A large fish was finished just like this. Long Chen wiped his mouth with a napkin. He smiled. Brother Wenlong, there's a saying that it's easier to bargain after treating someone to a meal. Zheng Wenlong hastily raised a hand. Stop right there. That might be true for others, but it won't work this time. Don't try to dredge up any benefits from me. I'm so poor that my underpants are too loose for me to wear now. If you don't believe me, I'll show you. Damn, as expected, the bigger their business, the more stingy people become. Fine, then I'll show you my products. Long Chen waved his hand, and a giant scarlet blood spirit fish appeared on the table. It was 3 meters long and still flopping. Seeing that giant scarlet blood spirit fish, Zheng Wenlong jumped in shock. He didn't even know that scarlet blood spirit fish could grow to such a size. Just how effective would its essence blood be? This is a real fish king, while what we ate before was nothing. Brother Wenlong, can you tell me what price this fish king would sell for? Asked Long Chen. Zheng Wenlong closely examined it. He even made a close inspection of its tail, fins, and stomach before saying, this fish king should have surpassed 3,000 years of age based on its scales and fins. Its essence blood must be much purer, most likely 10 times greater than ordinary scarlet blood spirit fish. Such a thing is essentially priceless. It doesn't exist on the market. If a genius were allowed to absorb its essence blood, the chances of them awakening their latent bloodline potential would be extremely high. So I can't really give an estimate of its price, but based on the value of an ordinary scarlet blood spirit fish, this fish king should be worth around 5 to 8 million spirit crystals. If it was auctioned, it would probably sell for several times more due to its rarity. Zheng Wenlong's estimate was very conservative. There was no way to estimate a price if it was auctioned, but 5 to 8 million spirit crystals would be the base price at an auction. 1 would be 5 million, 10 would be 50 million, 100 would be 500 million, so then 100,000 of them should be enough. Long Chen's eyes lit up. Could this problem really be resolved just like this? You want to sell 100,000 of them? Zheng Wenlong almost jumped out of his skin. Long Chen actually had 100,000 scarlet blood spirit fish of this size. Yes, I need around 500 billion spirit crystals, and I'm in a rush. 500 billion, Zheng Wenlong gasped. Just what was Long Chen planning on doing with this money? That was a number even he didn't dare to imagine. What, can the Huyan sect not handle this business? Asked Long Chen. We definitely can, but I'll have to ask the sect leader for instructions for such a huge transaction. Also, I should warn you that selling so many scarlet blood spirit fish will lower their individual value, said Zheng Wenlong. From a business standpoint, he didn't want Long Chen to sell so many at once. There's no way around it. I'm in urgent need of money. Furthermore, the 500 billion spirit crystals probably won't be enough. I don't know much about business, and I don't have time to haggle over it. Since I trust you and the Huyan sect, how about this? I'll give you 200,000 scarlet blood spirit fish as collateral. I'm in urgent need of expensive materials, and I don't want to wait an extra second. I also have some other spoils from the yin-yang world, including some divine items that I don't need. Other than that, I'm prepared to give you a few medicinal pills. I hope that the Huyan sect can focus more on its alchemy department and fight over the medicinal pill marketplace with Pill Valley. This matter is too big. I have to speak with the sect master. It would be best if you spoke personally to him. Wait here for a moment. I'll be right back. Zhang Wenlong left. Although his status was extremely high in the Huyan sect, and there was no one in the junior generation with such a high level, this matter wasn't just about money. It also involved their fight against Pill Valley. You're back so quick. What did the higher-ups not consent? In just a moment, Zhang Wenlong returned and his expression was a bit strange, startling Long Chen. If the higher-ups didn't consent, he wouldn't be able to get the money. Zhang Wenlong shook his head. He sighed. The higher-ups want me to handle it myself. That's a good thing. It means your authority has risen once more. Long Chen smiled. For them to even let Zhang Wenlong handle such a major matter, it seemed that they were raising him to be the next sect master. If Zhang Wenlong was the master of the Huyan sect, wouldn't he have as much money as he wanted in the future? Zhang Wenlong bitterly smiled. The greater my authority, the greater the responsibility. Going directly against Pill Valley isn't something I'm confident in. What are you afraid of? I've been going against Pill Valley ever since the Pill Tower in the eastern wastelands, but aren't I still living happily? Let me tell you, this is a kind of test the higher-ups have given you. They want you to accumulate experience. Plus, the Huyan sect and Pill Valley are both enormous existences. You're on the same level, so why worry? I didn't have anyone backing me. But if I was backed by an enormous existence like the Huyan sect, would you believe me if I said I could bankrupt Pill Valley within 3 years? How could Zhang Wenlong believe that? Or how could he not believe that? Even without any backing, Long Chen had managed to throw the continent into chaos. If he actually had a powerful backer, perhaps the continent would be under his control now. However, Zhang Wenlong was not Long Chen. He was a businessman and had to view this from a business standpoint, calculating the profits and expenses, the danger and risk. He could not get hot-headed. Fine, give me the list of things that you need. I'll see how much I can gather. However, I definitely don't have enough money to buy it all right now, so it'll have to be bought in batches. But don't worry, since the higher-ups have given me this authority, I can gather some resources from the headquarters without wasting any time. As for the scarlet blood spirit fish, give them to me. I definitely won't be selling them all at once. We might be brothers, but business is business. Lower the risk. I can only count each scarlet blood spirit fish as 3 million spirit crystals. Once they're all sold, we can recalculate the actual price they sold for. As for your divine items, they're easy to handle. Other than Pill Valley, every other major power on the continent is secretly trying to keep up a good relationship with us. Selling the divine items to them won't cause any trouble. As for the pill formulas, it's still the same rules. Once they've been successfully sold, you'll be given a share based on the profit. However, that will be much slower. All right, I don't really need to know all the details. I just want to urgently gather these resources. Let me put it to you this way. I'm preparing to do something big, so these resources are necessary, said Long Chen. Right now, he was being hunted by the various major powers of the continent. That was because he didn't have the power to challenge them. However, that was only now. With the scarlet blood spirit fish having awakened the dragon blood warriors' bloodlines, as long as they reached the first heaven stage of Life Star, they would be able to control world energy. Over 12,000 Life Star Empyreans with divine items, just who would they be afraid of? Long Chen was in a race against time because Pill Valley would not be waiting around either. He didn't know what kind of scheme they were plotting, but he had to raise his power until he could contend against the major powers. Long Chen then handed hundreds of divine items to Zhang Wenlong. Those were divine items with strange forms and usages that the Dragon Blood Legion couldn't use. Long Chen wrote down hundreds of pill formulas, making Zhang Wenlong jump. Those pills were the most popular pills that Pill Valley sold. If the Huyan sect could make them as well, perhaps they'd be able to take over half of the pill market. Zhang Wenlong knew that Long Chen was getting ruthless. He wanted Pill Valley to suffer, so he was ruining their monopoly on their core pills. Zhang Wenlong had always felt Long Chen to be mysterious. It seemed that there was no one else in this world who would do things like him. After writing out the pill formulas, Long Chen was preparing to leave. However, Zhang Wenlong clenched his teeth, hesitating. Brother Long, there is a certain matter that I don't know whether or not I should tell you about. Chapter 1949. What is it? Long Chen was startled. He suddenly had a bad feeling. With Zhang Wenlong's calm demeanor and adding on this hesitation, it probably wasn't anything good. During the time that you vanished, the Xuan beasts joined with Heavenly Fate Island to calculate the whereabouts of the cloud-chasing, heaven-swallowing sparrow race. I heard that the Xuan beasts managed to take over 2 of their secret strongholds, said Zheng Wenlong carefully. Upon hearing this, Long Chen's expression immediately turned cold. Killing intent appeared in his eyes. What was this? Unable to capture him, they had turned their blades on others. However, the cloud-chasing, heaven-swallowing sparrow race was viewed as traitors by the Xuan beasts. The 2 sides had a deep enmity against each other that stretched back a long time ago. The Xuan beasts' actions could be justified by that, but Zheng Wenlong felt differently. I'm afraid that the dragon slaughter convention from the Grand Han will reoccur. For others, the same trap won't work twice. But for you, Long Chen, no matter how many times they do this, it will still be effective. Your weakness is clear to others. Long Chen's weakness was that, even if he knew he was sending himself to his death, he would still go if his companions were captured. If Pill Valley was involved, they wouldn't give him any chance to escape. So Zheng Wenlong was warning Long Chen, despite knowing that he couldn't change what Long Chen would do. As friends, some things still had to be said. However, you don't need to worry. Based on what I know, the cloud-chasing, heaven-swallowing sparrow race has hundreds of secret strongholds throughout the Martial Heaven continent. As for their main headquarters, even Heavenly Fate Island is unable to find it. Most likely, it is protected by their ancestral spirits. What I'm afraid of is this matter being learned by the cloud-chasing, heaven-swallowing sparrow that's with you. She might go to help, disregarding everything else, and then you go save her. That would once more be falling for their trap, warned Zheng Wenlong. Long Chen nodded. I won't tell Cloud about this for now. Fuck, it really is one scheme after another. Pill Valley is truly insidious. Xuanhuan is a wily old fox. Many people have been tricked by him. He has been arranging things for many years, and it's unknown how many chess pieces he has secretly set up. He is ruthless and ambitious, as well as frighteningly patient, said Zheng Wenlong. For the higher-ups to tell him to handle this on his own, it was clear they wanted to use Long Chen's matter to temper him. But in the face of Xuanhuan, Zheng Wenlong knew he was lacking many things. It shouldn't just be this, right? Long Chen looked at Zheng Wenlong. Zheng Wenlong nodded. The Xuanhuan Dao sect and the Heaven-Splitting Battle sect are under tight observation. Each of their movements is under the control of Pill Valley. As for that old man of yours, he almost went berserk, wanting to kill all those people. Alliance Head had to personally hold him back. The old man has never lowered his head to anyone. I ended up implicating him, sighed Long Chen. The stubborn old man had actually held back just because of him. All right, I understand. Get to the real issue. Zheng Wenlong was pacing around the room. It was clear he was still struggling. Tell me, you're not a businessman, you're my brother, said Long Chen. Zheng Wenlong bitterly smiled. Whether it's from a business standpoint or the standpoint of your brother, I shouldn't say, but I know that if I don't, you'll hate me for the rest of your life. What I have to tell you is that Leng Yuan is currently in trouble. She will soon be executed. What? Long Chen jumped up, his killing intent once more soaring. I knew that you wouldn't be able to remain calm. To help you in the yin-yang world, she heavily injured Zai Luo. As a result, that infuriated Zai Wenchen and he captured her, not giving her any chance to quibble. She's imprisoned currently. Although Leng Yuan is a genius whose talent and combat strength is unrivaled in the corrupt path, and even though she is somehow capable of controlling death energy, she has no backing. Even if she's more outstanding than Zai Luo, it's useless. Before this, she was able to run rampant without anyone touching her because Zai Wenchen wanted to raise her as Zai Luo's Dao companion. However, Leng Yuan actually went against his orders and attacked Zai Luo, causing his entire plan to crumble. This time, she's going to be sacrificed to the corrupt god at the heavenly evil cave. Furthermore, her power might be stripped away and bestowed to Zai Luo. It's unknown if Leng Yuan is simply one of Zai Wenchen's hidden pieces that he was grooming precisely for this moment, said Zheng Wenlong. The leaders of the major powers on the continent were all wily. Sometimes, their moves couldn't be understood by others, and that was what made them exceptionally frightening. They didn't just have immense martial power but also the intelligence to back it up. So even the name of the heavenly evil cave has been leaked. It should be intentional then, said Long Chen, his lips curling into a disdainful smile. Yes, this matter is no secret. Many people on the Martial Heaven continent know of it. If they could kill Leng Yuan and bait you to go at the same time, it would be a spectacular victory for them. If you went, you would be falling for a trap, while if you didn't, You would be given an infamous name as someone who didn't go help a woman who only fell into her predicament because she saved your life. Considering Pill Valley's skills at creating rumors, you'll lose many supporters. So when these wily old foxes make a move, no matter what you do, they will end up winning. Despite knowing this is a trap, you will still go, right? Zheng Wenlong looked at Long Chen. Long Chen bitterly smiled. If I didn't go, I wouldn't be Long Chen. That's why I really didn't know whether or not to tell you this news. Telling you might kill you, while not telling you would pain you for the rest of your life. Zheng Wenlong had a complicated expression, not knowing if telling Long Chen had been the right choice. Telling me was the right thing to do. You understand me. If you didn't tell me, you would only be a businessman and not my brother. Long Chen patted Zheng Wenlong's shoulder. If he wanted to get more profit, Zheng Wenlong could act like he didn't know so that Long Chen would be safe. If Long Chen died, his businesses would tumble. However, Zheng Wenlong had still told him. What do you plan to do? What else can I plan to do? Long Chen shrugged. My plans haven't changed. There's no way to go faster and the other side isn't giving me any time. Leng Yuyan saved me twice, so I won't just watch as she dies. I'm definitely going to go to the heavenly evil cave. Then the chances of you surviving are essentially zero. You might never return. Then I'll never return, but your businesses will continue. If I die, the Dragonblood Legion will still exist. They are my brothers and they'll avenge me. As long as the Dragonblood Legion is present, I can die without regrets. Long Chen smiled very calmly. Watching as he left, Zheng Wenlong didn't know what he was feeling. He wanted to help Long Chen, but he didn't know how to. Advise him? Useless. If he listened, then he wouldn't be Long Chen. He wouldn't be the powerful, domineering, and unrivaled hero that he was. He also wouldn't be the Dragonblood Legion's boss with so many hot-blooded brothers and sisters. Long Chen slowly walked out of the Huiyun pavilion, his mood heavy. He knew that his enemies weren't giving him any time to breathe. Their schemes came one after another. Most hateful of all, the Dragonblood Legion had not gained control of their world energy, and the majority of them did not have divine items. If a battle started, it would lead to too many casualties. Saving Leng Yuyan but sacrificing his brothers, unacceptable. So Long Chen could only choose to go alone into the enemy territory with just his saber, even if he didn't return. How brazen, Long Chen! You still dare to swagger around, face your death. Long Chen had just walked out of the Huiyun pavilion when a roar rang out. A nether passage expert wearing robes of the ancient races blocked his path. More terrifying auras began to rise around him. These people had long since surrounded this area, just waiting for him to come out. In truth, they hadn't had much hope of capturing Long Chen here. The Huiyun pavilion had transportation formations inside it, and they had assumed that Long Chen would leave through there. But unexpectedly, he actually walked out just like that. Countless figures fled from the city, afraid of being caught in the battle. Only some confident experts chose to continue floating in the sky, looking at that black-robed man that had shaken the continent. Long Chen really did come out. The strongest man of the martial heaven continent's junior generation. How cool. Two women were floating in the sky, softly whispering to each other. Based on their powerful auras and robes, they were life-star experts from some neutral faction. Powerful undercurrents were currently surging on the martial heaven continent, so only the disciples from neutral camps dared to roam around. They could gain experience and also gather information. Even neutral factions needed to have information about the movements on the martial heaven continent. HMPH, who said that, who declared him the strongest man of the martial heaven continent's junior generation. What a shameless fool full of hot air. Just at this moment, a young man in the sky disdainfully opened his mouth. Chapter 1950. That young man spat at Long Chen, startling quite a few people. It had to be known that Long Chen was one of the world's most ruthless people. From the eastern wasteland to the central plains, those heavenly geniuses that had become enemies with him had all died. Although this man was at the life-star realm and was also a powerful Empyrean, it seemed that someone on his level wasn't qualified to be arrogant in front of Long Chen. What an idiot! After advancing to life-star, he actually thinks he's too big to be killed. He wants to insult Long Chen to raise his own prestige while there are nether passage experts around. An old man shook his head. Last time, rivers of blood flowed through the eastern Xuanhuan city. No one was able to stop Long Chen from leaving. Does he really think such a person would allow such humiliation? A life-star expert sighed. He was already over 100 years old and had no hope of further advancements. He would not be the main character of this era. However, being witnesses to this era, these people had personally seen Long Chen's rise and seen him create miracle after miracle. Long Chen suddenly vanished from his original location. Space shook and he reappeared in front of the young man. He was like a phantom, coming and going without any warning. Although the man had been prepared, he had not expected Long Chen to be so quick. He reached out to unsheath his sword. At the next moment, Long Chen's hand grabbed the sword hilt, while his other hand slapped this young man's face. Blood flew out of his mouth, and his teeth became free, flying through the air. As for his sword, it had come out of its sheath and was now pressed against his forehead. For a moment, everyone was dumbfounded. Even the Nether Passage experts were stunned. Long Chen's speed was inconceivable. He was so fast that they couldn't even react. The Nether Passage experts exchanged a glance, acknowledging how serious this situation was now. Long Chen was actually able to move while completely disregarding their life and death domains. It had to be known that Long Chen was only at the peak of soul transformation. For him to be able to ignore their domains was against all common sense. "Do I know you?" asked Long Chen, still pressing the sword at the young man's forehead. "No, no." The man was now terrified, unable to speak properly. He only had one life, and now it was in Long Chen's hands. "To express your disdain toward me, you came here, showing off your bravery. I actually look down on and hate people like you the most." Long Chen pressed forward with the sword. That person's body shook once before he fell from the sky, his Yuan spirit dead. In front of Long Chen, this confident life-star Empyrean didn't even have the slightest ability to resist. His corpse landed on the ground, causing a burst of dust to fly into the air. Everyone's hearts shook. They looked at the gloomy Long Chen, whose killing intent was steadily rising. Their hair stood on end. Long Chen put away the sword. Although it was just a quasi-divine item, it was still quite valuable. Without even glancing at the Nether Passage experts, he began walking out of the city. It was the same road, the same man walking alone. His enemies had grown even stronger, but his indomitable air was the same. There were over 10 Nether Passage experts present. They exchanged a glance, their meaning to wait until Long Chen was out of the city to attack. If they fought within the city, they might not care about others, but they still had to worry about the Huiyun sect. The Huiyun sect might interfere under the excuse of stopping the disturbance in the city. Long Chen walked away slowly. Under the gaze of countless experts, he walked out of the city with over 10 Nether Passage experts following him. "Attack!" Once he was out of the city, one of the Nether Passage experts finally gave the order. Life and death energy erupted, and a sword slashed toward Long Chen. He used his sharpest attack right from the start, clearly no longer viewing Long Chen as a soul transformation disciple, but a true threat. "The battlefield hasn't changed at all. Good, I'll add some color this time. I think the blood of Nether Passage experts should be good." Long Chen's gaze was icy cold, and he was filled with fury. Since they had to force him until he had no other option, they couldn't blame him for being vicious. Long Chen's divine ring burst into existence behind him. He activated the 5-star battle armor, and white scales also appeared all over his body. However, when those scales appeared, Long Chen's skin split open, and his blood poured out. As expected, this is too much. My current physical body is still unable to summon the complete Azure Dragon battle armor. However, this state should be enough. Long Chen glanced at the bloody scales on his body for an instant before slashing his saber at the attacking Nether Passage experts. Boom! Black and white light intertwined, devouring the sky. That berserk energy caused the world to shake. "What?" All the experts watching let out startled cries. They saw a Nether Passage expert actually be sent flying. He wasn't able to receive even a single blow. How is that possible? Just what kind of power is that? Is this some kind of self-destructive secret art? Is he exchanging his life for power? Wild speculation erupted. This saber slash had surpassed the limits of their imagination. Just how was it possible for a soul transformation disciple to ignore 2 major realms and force back a Nether Passage expert? The other Nether Passage experts attacked as well after they recovered from their shock. Rumbling rang out as Long Chen's saber danced. Scram! Long Chen suddenly let out an angry roar, like thunder shaking the land. A chi wave containing dragon might spread, and those Nether Passage experts tumbled back. All that remained was Long Chen standing in the sky. Evil Moon's runes had lit up, and a dragon cry could be heard echoing through the air, resonating with heaven and earth. "A group of early Nether Passage brats think they can block me," sneered Long Chen. He pointed Evil Moon toward the sky, "Split the heavens 7." Evil Moon rumbled as a giant saber image tore through the clouds. The void was torn in two, and then a black river of stars crashed down. The current Long Chen was finally able to cooperate with Evil Moon's power. When the two of them worked together, they could unleash the full potential of the seventh form of Split the Heavens. The Nether Passage experts' expressions changed. They had never imagined that a soul transformation disciple would be capable of unleashing such a terrifying attack. They actually felt a sensation of death from this attack as they were completely locked down. Trying to run would only send them to their deaths. Boom! Over 10 divine items lit up, unleashing their divine power. The black saber image collided with the light of those divine items. The world almost crumbled from their power. As a result, a burst of astral winds blew back the Nether Passage experts, and they were wildly coughing up blood. "What? He actually wasn't defeated," startled cries rang out. They couldn't understand how these Nether Passage experts had been blown back despite joining forces. Just as they were filled with disbelief, a black saber slashed down mercilessly at one of the ancient race Nether Passage experts. He was blown to bits, his Yuan spirit annihilated. He vanished from this world. Long Chen had a pair of lightning wings on his back, but he was covered in blood. His azure dragon battle armor was incomplete, and ignoring the fact that it limited his power, his body couldn't even endure it. The backlash just now had heavily injured him. However, this time he was smarter. He didn't try to heal with the primal chaos space while he had the azure dragon battle armor on. First of all, there would only be a little effect, and he would also waste a huge amount of life energy. His whole body was racked with pain, but he still clenched his teeth and pressed on. His lightning wings flapped, and he shot after the fleeing Nether Passage experts. The next Nether Passage expert hastily raised his weapon upon seeing Long Chen turn to him, and as a result, his weapon was shattered along with his body. His Yuan spirit had just come out when one of Long Chen's lightning wings smashed it, blowing it apart. Long Chen had killed 2 Nether Passage experts in a row. However, his killing intent was still soaring, and it was as if he had forgotten his own injuries and pain. He shot after the 3rd Nether Passage expert. This expert was from the Xuanhuan beasts. He was a giant, and his movements were not nimble. Hence, he was instantly caught up to, and seeing Long Chen's saber falling toward him, he roared, his battle axe lighting up. Boom! Evil Moon created a giant nick in the axe. At this moment, the Nether Passage expert thought that he had escaped a calamity, and he suddenly sent a kick at Long Chen. However, he had just moved when Long Chen's left hand thrust forward, a lightning spear in his hand. Die! Thunder rumbled and lightning flashed. That Xuanhuan beast Nether Passage expert exploded into a rain of blood. Chapter 1951, 1951. 3 were killed in one blow each. The 3rd Nether Passage expert had clearly blocked Long Chen's saber, but had been unable to stop his lightning spear. That's clearly a powerful paragon art. How can he use it so quickly? Everyone was stunned. The intense fluctuations of that spear meant that it was a paragon art, and they were correct. It was the lightning paragon art, the wild lightning soul battle spear. What they didn't know was that Long Chen's paragon arts had 2 states. One was powered with Lei Long's energy, while the other was with the lightning field's energy. Only when he was connected to the lightning field would his paragon arts be at full power. However, he was still capable of using it with just Lei Long's power. If it was before, Lei Long's power wouldn't be enough to heavily injure Nether Passage experts. But Lei Long had devoured a great deal of divine lightning during the Dragonblood Legion's tribulation, resulting in it once more advancing. Its divine energy was more concentrated, and it easily pierced through that Nether Passage expert's defensive divine light. With Evil Moon in his right hand and the wild lightning soul battle spear in his left hand, Long Chen was like a devil god, mercilessly reaping the lives of Nether Passage experts. Perhaps it could be said that the first 2 to be killed were still affected by the 7th form of Split the Heavens, so Long Chen had relied on some technique. However, the 3rd Nether Passage expert had been slain with pure power. In just the blink of an eye, Long Chen had killed 3 Nether Passage experts, using his power to take the dominating role on the battlefield. Heaven-defying, absolutely heaven-defying. He's worthy of being called the strongest expert of the Martial Heaven Continent's junior generation. This is a real man. Those 2 women from neutral factions looked at him with worshipful expressions. They were of the same age, but in their lifetimes, they wouldn't even dream of doing what Long Chen had done. Long Chen's lightning spear vanished, and he shot after the closest panicking nether passage expert. That expert's expression changed, and he chose to do something no one had previously imagined. He decided to turn and flee. Long Chen snorted and lightning flashed around him. He caught up in just a second, slashing his saber down with both hands. Bastard, I'll go all out. That nether passage expert felt despair as he was too unlucky to actually be targeted by Long Chen. He spat a mouthful of blood onto his sword, and divine power roared. What are you going to use to go all out? The seventh form of split the heavens. Long Chen sneered and his saber fell. In front of the seventh form of split the heavens, that nether passage expert's attack appeared weak and insignificant. It didn't even cause a ripple. He was instantly torn through. Fucking satisfying. Evil Moon was shouting with delight. The blood of these nether passage experts excited it, and it felt refreshed to be able to unleash its power. Another nether passage expert was slain once again with absolute power. This scene was even more shocking. Hence, the remaining nether passage experts fled and vanished from sight. Fine, you should stop too. Your physical body has reached its limit. Without advancing to nether passage, you probably won't be able to control the full power of the Azure Dragon, said Evil Moon. It found that cracks had appeared in Long Chen's bones. He was so powerful that his own body couldn't handle it. Although Long Chen's physical body had been reforged by the Azure Dragon Essence blood, he still couldn't use its full power. He would need to get stronger first. As a member of the dragon race, Evil Moon was very sure about this. Putting away Evil Moon, Long Chen didn't show any happiness or sorrow. In front of everyone's dumbfounded gazes, he slowly walked away. Over 10 nether passage experts had tried to stop him. As a result, 4 of them died while the others fled miserably. Everyone suddenly thought of Long Chen's previous words about adding some color to this battlefield with the blood of nether passage experts. He had really done it. The stories say that Long Chen never says any empty words. I believe it now, sighed someone. I don't understand how a hero of our righteous path has ended up isolated and surrounded by enemies. Why would the Alliance head expel senior apprentice brother Long Chen? It's completely unjust, said one young disciple angrily. As soon as he said this, quite a few expressions changed. Long Chen's expulsion had caused huge waves, and countless young disciples were filled with indignation for him, wanting Jianying to repeal this. Even the seniors and masters of the various sects were unable to suppress their momentum. Long Chen's prestige amongst the junior generation was just too great. Things had only just calmed down when this disciple brought it up again. It was like splashing oil on a fire. The Alliance head naturally has her own plans. What could a child like you understand? Don't you see that Long Chen didn't say anything at all about that? Get back, or I'll have to imprison you, shouted an elder. That disciple clearly belonged to him. HMPH, how am I, child? I'm 7 years older than senior apprentice brother Long Chen. When he was my age, he was already thrown into the bloody world while I had to be beaten and scolded all the time. I wanted to go out into the world, but you didn't let me, saying it was dangerous and raising me wasn't easy. If I did dodge any danger, though, you would scold me for being a coward and not being a man. No matter what I do, I'm wrong. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen didn't have anyone telling him what to do, but he knew what he needed to do, while we don't get to do what we feel like we need. If you old fellows were always right, you would have long since reached the peak of this world instead of being cowards who don't dare to say anything to enemies that come knocking at your door, shouted the young disciple. All his accumulated resentment and anger erupted at once. His words formed a resonance amongst the junior generation present. They were the geniuses of their various factions, and they all had the same pain. They might not need to worry about being clothed or hungry, which was a life countless people longed for, but they knew that they weren't free. Their seniors always looked after everything that they did. They had to act according to their standards, and if they didn't, they would be wrong. That made them feel lost in life and more rebellious. The reason Long Chen had become an idol of countless experts was because he hadn't relied on anyone to reach his current height. They were filled with reverence as well as envy for his freedom. He was a wild horse, while they were caged birds that weren't allowed to fly as they wanted to. Instead, they were kept in a cage, and when they were allowed to fly, they had a string tied to their legs that was holding them back. Little brat, who do you think you're talking to? I'm your father, raged the elder. Can a father be this unreasonable? If your father was unreasonable with you, did you have to be unreasonable with me? You didn't have the power to go against your father. You're a coward, but I won't be like that. What qualifications do you have to scold me? The young man refused to submit. Only then did everyone hear that they were a pair of father and son. However, that son's words were clearly unfilial. He actually called his father a coward. You fucking. The father was enraged but didn't know what to say. He grabbed his son and beat him. Hey, you old man, what did your son do? Did he say anything wrong? Just because you couldn't out-talk him, you beat him. Useless seniors like you restrict our growth, or perhaps each one of us could be on the same level as senior apprentice brother Long Chen. His actions immediately incurred public wrath. Exactly, you've throttled our Dao hearts. Even geniuses would be raised into idiots by you. If it weren't for your foolishness, even if we weren't like Long Chen, we would still be real men like the Dragon Blood warriors. Fuck, you're not releasing him. Brothers, beat this old man. Just how much are we supposed to take without fighting back? Dozens of young men charged forward at the same time at the father. Bastards, you. Bang. The old man roared. Just how had looking after his own child ended up incurring so many people's wrath. Just as he was going to frighten them away, a fist struck him in the eye, making him see stars. There were too many people for him to know who had done that. In his anger, he sent a punch at those men. Brother, don't be afraid, we'll save you. Youngsters like us should be united against oppression. Good brother, we'll rebel together. We'll all be unrivaled heroes like senior apprentice brother Long Chen. Just as they started a chaotic brawl with some others coming to try to intervene and calm things down, rumbling rang out. Before anyone could say anything, a war chariot appeared in the sky. Where is Long Chen? A thunderous roar rang out. It stabbed people's eardrums, and weaker people even began to bleed from their ears. They stared in shock up at the sky. Chapter 1952. The ancient war carriage was pulled by a ferocious magical beast. It was a 9-colored flying horse. A mid-12th rank magical beast. The Nether Passage experts' expressions changed. This 9-colored celestial horse was comparable to Nether Passage experts of the second step. It might even possess the power to one-shot early Nether Passage experts, but such a terrifying magical beast was actually pulling a carriage for someone. Divine runes flowed on top of the carriage, causing space to twist. It was clearly a powerful divine item in its own right. A giant man walked off from the carriage. He held a blood-colored halberd. Wasn't the kill in battle halberd damaged in the yin-yang world? Whispers rang out as people recognized this person to be the Xuanhuan beast's genius, true immortal Jade. What they didn't know was that the kill in battle halberd was a special weapon of the Killendrake race. There were actually 9 of them, 8 held by the elders with the greatest authority in the race, while 1 was bestowed to the genius with the greatest potential. True immortal Jade had been bestowed that kill in battle halberd, but it had been broken by Leng Yuyan's bone sword. Now he held one that only elders were qualified to use, and it was even stronger. True immortal Jade had advanced to the second heaven stage of Life Star. Not only had he been given the most powerful halberd, but he also had the Killen war chariot. Those 2 divine items were the strongest weapons possessed by the Killendrake race. He still refused to accept his defeat from last time. If he had possessed such powerful weapons at that time, he might not have lost to Leng Yuyan. With them, he had come to take his revenge against Long Chen and Leng Yuyan. However, Leng Yuyan was already set to be executed, so he had no chance to get his revenge from her. That was why he was searching all over for Long Chen. When he heard that he was in the eastern Xuan city, he immediately rushed over here. The 9-colored horse was as quick as lightning, second only to the cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow in terms of speed. However, he was still 1 step too slow because Long Chen had already left. Not seeing Long Chen, he saw the brawl down below and he shouted, "Tell me, where did Long Chen go?" Why would I have to tell you? The one who true immortal Jade had picked out was actually the man that had just rebelled against his father. He was still rebellious. Inferior human race die. True immortal Jade suddenly pointed a single finger. A burst of wind shot over. Within that burst of wind could be heard the faint cry of a Killen and Drake. The young man suddenly found that he was unable to move. The heavenly Tao energy that he relied on had been stripped away from him. Watch out! It was his father who shot into motion, appearing in front of him and raising a divine item. Bang! That quasi divine item exploded. and true immortal Jioki's attack struck the father in the shoulder, turning it into a mass of blood and flesh. "Dad," the young man shouted, his eyes red. He wanted to charge out and attack, but he was too weak to even move under true immortal Jioki's pressure. "Just half-step nether passage. I'll send you two on your way." True immortal Jioki instantly saw through the father's cultivation base. If it weren't for that divine item, the two of them would have already died. He unleashed an identical attack with his finger, but this time it was even more powerful. "Dad." True immortal Jioki, just what do you think you're doing? Furious roars rang out amongst the crowd, but true immortal Jioki ignored them, a cruel smile on his face. As for the father, there was some kind of powerful energy on his mangled shoulder that was trying to wreck the rest of his body. He didn't have the power to resist. He was very unwilling. He wanted to save his son at the very least, but he was powerless. In front of absolute power, everything was useless. Bang! Just as the father and son were about to be killed, a palm blocked the attack in front of them. What? Everyone was startled. True immortal Jioki had already advanced to the life star realm and controlled world energy. Just who was capable of so easily brushing aside his attack? They hastily focused, seeing a young man standing there. Behind him was a giant die slowly spinning. It's Hu Feng, the heir of the gambling heavenly Tao. That die was a sign of who he was, and the special divine item that only the gambling heavenly Tao possessed. "Hu Feng, what are you doing here? Does the gambling heavenly Tao want to stand by Long Chen and become enemies with the rest of the world?" demanded true immortal Jioki. There were many legends of the gambling heavenly Tao. However, in actual history, there were only a few records of any fights against them. True immortal Jioki's battle intent began to rise. Hu Feng shook his head. "What am I doing here? Why act stupid? Do you really think others don't know how many despicable acts your side has done in the name of hunting Long Chen? The gambling heavenly Tao might not interfere with the rest of the world, but I really can't bear to just keep watching. Is bullying the weak really so satisfying? Oh, also, don't get so arrogant as to think that your so-called alliance can represent the entire world. The ancient races, the corrupt path, the Xuanhuan beasts, all the groups that were no longer harmonious with the righteous path claimed to be hunting down Long Chen. But behind that mask, just how many other experts had they killed because they were suspected of harboring Long Chen? The entire continent was covered in a storm, with many talented disciples no longer even daring to leave their sects. They didn't know when they might disappear for no reason. Most of the factions on the continent had seen it happen, but the majority did not dare to get angry or say anything. They chose to endure to protect themselves. Now that true immortal Jioki had appeared, their suppressed anger flared. They knew that the Xuanhuan beasts and the others were doing this deliberately. What a joke! Anything that happens is all due to Long Chen. If he wasn't hiding and dared to take responsibility for his own actions, how could so many people have been implicated by him? Sneered true immortal Jioki. Hu Feng smiled faintly. "I'm not here to talk reason with you. If talking reason actually worked, there wouldn't be war and there wouldn't be cultivation. Long Chen is already gone. You're too late. Even with this 9-colored horse, you can't catch up, so you should leave. The gambling heavenly Tao's disciples don't like to meddle with other people's business, but if you go too far, I'll have to stop you." "Stop me? Good, then let me see whether or not you have that ability. I've heard that the gambling heavenly Tao is miraculous. Hopefully, you won't disappoint me." True immortal Jioki pointed his kill-in-battle halberd at Hu Feng, killing intent appearing in his eyes. He had clearly been waiting for these words. "Why bother? Aren't you being so oppressive because you hope someone will counterattack and you will have an excuse to start a fight? Last time, Alliance head Jianing didn't let you have this excuse, so you've resorted to this. You really leave us with no leeway. Even neutral factions have become your chess pieces. It seems you wish to disturb the deep waters of the martial heaven continent. I really can't understand what your goal is." Hu Feng shook his head. After hearing this, a few disciples, hearts hook. Only now did they learn that Jianing had expelled Long Chen to avoid a war throughout the entire continent. Their sect masters had never mentioned this to them. "That's enough nonsense. Come out and fight." True immortal Jioki flew out of the city, while his horse also flew away with him. They were so fast that others couldn't track them. True immortal Jioki was a giant whose arm was thicker than Hu Feng's whole body. On the other hand, Hu Feng was slender and looked like he might be blown away if true immortal Jioki blew on him. If it weren't for the giant die behind him, others wouldn't even think he was a cultivator. Die. Once Hu Feng walked over, true immortal Jade immediately attacked and shot through the air. The point of his finger had shocked people with their power, and now that he was using his halberd, the heavenly Taos rumbled. Life Star Empyreans are capable of using world energy, while Xuanhuan beasts can combine the power of their bloodline with their world energy, giving them even greater power, said a Nether Passage expert of the righteous path. That's right. In the Life Star realm, the Xuanhuan beasts and ancient races have a natural advantage. The human race only takes back the advantage in the Nether Passage realm involving comprehension. I wonder whether this heir of the gambling heavenly Tao is as amazing as the legends say. If not, he really might die, said another elder. Boom! True immortal Jade's halberd finally struck, but it stopped right in front of Hu Feng, who still had his hands clasped behind him. In front of him was a giant domino that was blocking the halberd. What is that? Chapter 1953, 1953. It's the gambling heavenly Tao's 9 heavenly tiles, said one elder. This elder had a faint fiery light in his eyes, and he was an extremely powerful Nether Passage expert. He had most likely already reached the 3rd step of Nether Passage. However, his robes made people's hearts shake. He was actually from the Bloodkill Hall. Only now did people realize that, at some point, dozens of Nether Passage experts had gathered here. These experts belonged from various factions, including the Ancient Races, the Corrupt Path, the Ancient Family Alliance, the Xuanhuan Beasts, and Pill Valley. Obviously, they had received news that Long Chen was here. However, they had arrived too late. Actually, the news that Long Chen had come to the eastern Xuanhuan city had spread early enough for them to have rushed here in time. However, they hadn't come at that time, because they had expected him to simply go through the Huiyuan Pavilion's transportation formations. No one dared to go completely hostile with the Huiyuan sect. The Huiyuan sect said that they were businessmen and they did business with anyone. Hence, no one dared to go to the Huiyuan sect to force them to hand over Long Chen. The only one capable of competing with the Huiyuan sect was Pill Valley. But Pill Valley assumed that Long Chen was drawing their attention here on purpose to affect their overall plans. In fact, they even suspected that this was one of Hua Mingxing's schemes to slow down their plans, so they hadn't cared too much that Long Chen had come here. As long as Long Chen was alive, they would have an excuse to pressure others. That wasn't a bad thing either. So the experts that had been sent here were just some early-stage Nether Passage experts, and even they hadn't expected Long Chen to just walk out directly. By the time they heard that Long Chen had slain some Nether Passage experts and rushed over, it was already too late. However, they managed to catch true immortal Jade's fight with the heir of the gambling heavenly Tao. The world rumbled as true immortal Jade's power soared. However, the shocking thing was that even as his energy soared to the point of causing every expert to feel like he was strong enough to destroy the world, that simple 3-meter domino of Hu Feng's didn't budge. There were 7 divine runes flowing within it. The Heavenly 9 tiles is the gambling heavenly Tao's inherited divine item. Successive generations of heirs had bestowed their life energy into the tiles either before ascending or before dying. Legend has it that they have 9 points, representing 9 different strength levels, starting with 1 and progressing to 9 at the peak. There are now 7 runes on that bone tile, representing the 7th level of strength, said an expert of the righteous path. He was so ancient that he looked doddering, and he leaned on a walking stick. However, his gaze was still sharp. The experts from the other factions stared in shock at that elder as they recognized his status. Senior, wouldn't that mean that the 8 rune and 9 rune tiles would be even more terrifying? Asked one disciple respectfully. In theory, yes, said the elder without any airs. That elder's response elicited cold gasps. Just how powerful was this Hu Feng? Killendrake energy split heaven and earth. True immortal Jade suddenly let out a roar, and a giant beast appeared in his manifestation. It had the body of a Killen but the tail of a drake. His halberd blazed with divine light when that beast appeared, and he stabbed it forward. Break. Finally, there was a reaction from Hu Feng's tile. It began to shudder intensely, showing signs that it wouldn't be able to hold on. However, Hu Feng's expression was still calm. He slowly formed hand seals. Suddenly, 6 dominoes appeared in the air, and they layered themselves behind the current domino. These dominoes had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 runes respectively. The 7 dominoes lit up at the same time, and the world suddenly dimmed. A gambling heavenly art capable of wrestling away the very energy of heaven and earth. Someone let out a startled cry. There were many legends of the gambling heavenly Tao, but now they were witnessing that legend in person. Heaven and earth rumbled as the energy of the heavenly Taos surged toward the 7 dominoes. Ripples of divine light spread along the dominoes, actually blocking true immortal Jyoki's power. Heavens, even without using any of his own energy, he can rely just on stealing the energy of the heavenly Taos to fight his enemies. That's basically cheating. Could it be that all the heirs of the gambling heavenly Taos are legendary heaven snatchers? No, heaven snatchers steal the power of the heavens that has already been fixed somewhere else. They have to kill people to take their heavenly Tao energy and give it to themselves. As for the heirs of the gambling heavenly Tao, they take the power of the heavens, but that is something they won through gambling against the heavens. When their battle or gamble is over, the energy of the heavens will return. If they want more energy, they'll need a new gamble, and I heard that they don't always win. If they lose, instead of taking any energy, they'll receive a backlash. It's an extremely inconceivable inheritance, explained someone. The gambling heavenly Tao's inheritance stretched back so many years that no one knew when it had even started. It was thought that their inheritance had been severed several times in the past, but they had always reappeared. The most curious thing was that they would only have one heir at a time. No one knew how they managed to continue existing. True immortal Jyoki suddenly retreated from the dominoes. He no longer looked down on them and decided to attack Hu Feng's true body. Avoiding the dominoes, he attacked from the side, forcing Hu Feng to actually fight himself. The dominoes were too bizarre, capable of taking the energy of the very heavens to use in battle. Fighting against something that was practically cheating wasn't going to benefit him. Hence, true immortal Jyoki had made the right choice. However, he had just moved when Hu Feng's dominoes actually split apart, attacking him like blades. They split into 4 groups. The 1 and 6 dominoes were together, along with the 2 and 5 dominoes and the 3 and 4 dominoes. The final 7th domino attacked on its own. What both shocked and enraged true immortal Jyoki was that these dominoes were incredibly fast, and they began to unleash a barrage of attacks against him, forcing him to retreat over and over again. He had no idea what material they were made of, but each time he clashed against them, he didn't even leave a scar on them. What strange attacks, each attack is evenly powered. Did you notice? Each of those 4 groups of dominoes has 7 runes in total, but they can't attack at the same time. Their power flows between the 4 groups seamlessly. Through that person's reminder, people noticed that each time the dominoes attacked, they would dim a bit after their attack was over, while another group of dominoes would then light up ever so slightly and attack. They had never seen such an attack style. Hu Feng was attacking without using up any of his own energy. Couldn't he simply exhaust his enemy to death like this? Boom! Suddenly, Hu Feng's 7 dominoes slammed together, and he had a fierce head-on clash against true immortal Jyoki. True immortal Jyoki was forced back 7 steps before stabilizing. I, Hu Feng, have no intention of being enemies with anyone, but people should have a yardstick for their actions. I know you haven't used many trump cards, but I'm the same. This battle has no winner or loser, so let's let things end here. Hu Feng waved his hand, summoning back the dominoes, looking at the furious true immortal Jyoki indifferently. His voice was not differential or afraid. Despite facing true immortal Jyoki as well as the surrounding Nether Passage experts, he was still calm. His meaning was clear. The reason he had interfered was because true immortal Jyoki had gone too far. He kept referring to the human race as inferior. Hu Feng might be a neutral expert, but he was a human. They had already tested each other's basics. If the battle continued, they would be forced to take out their real trump cards. Having their trump cards exposed in front of so many people wasn't good for either of them. Do you think things will end just because you say so? As I see it, you're one of Long Chen's friends and you're trying to draw attention from him, roared true immortal Jyoki. Hu Feng smiled, but it was a disdainful smile. This should be your habit of slandering others. As long as you don't like someone, you give them a bad name and then attack them with a grand excuse. Who would have thought that the domineering and direct Xuan beast race had also become so shameless? I only said what I said because it's not my business to interfere with you, but if you think that it's because I'm afraid of you, you're very mistaken. If you want to fight, I'll accompany you. Long Chen could make your blood flow like a river, and I, Hu Feng, can pile your corpses into mountains. Killing intent finally appeared from Hu Feng. Boom! Suddenly, the die behind Hu Feng stopped spinning. The world suddenly became still, and an ancient slumbering aura filled the sky. Are we fighting or not? You can decide with just a word. Hu Feng's cold voice resounded through the air. The heir of the gambling heavenly Tao was enraged. Chapter 1954, 1954. Hu Feng was enraged. The heirs of the gambling heavenly Tao were never existences to be provoked. It seemed that he was bringing shame to his sect by being treated like this. He had long since found the Xuanhuan beasts to be irritating. They always called the human race inferior and vile, not fit to live in this world. He had endured that, but he was no longer enduring. If he kept enduring, he would embarrass the name of the heir of the gambling heavenly Tao. Originally, Hu Feng had just wanted to give a warning to the Xuanhuan beasts not to have such dirty mouths. He had already gotten the advantage in the fight just now, but he had pulled back just to give true immortal Jioki a chance to back out without losing face. As a result, that shameless fellow actually pushed for more, infuriating Hu Feng. Hu Feng was angry, but so was true immortal Jioki. In the yin-yang world, he had joined hands with Huo Liyun and Zai Luo, but even together, they hadn't managed to kill Long Chen. That was equivalent to a defeat. Now that he had advanced to Life Star, he had gained control of world energy and even merged more deeply with his Killendrake energy, with even his manifestation getting closer to awakening. He also had the 9-colored celestial horse as a steed and 2 powerful divine items. With these, he had wanted to sweep away his previous disgrace, killing Long Chen in front of everyone. However, he had ended up encountering Hu Feng, who was extremely bizarre and difficult to deal with. If he didn't defeat Hu Feng, he wouldn't be able to settle his rage, nor would he be able to face his own pride. Geniuses all had their own pride and confidence. No one was willing to be labeled as the defeated, and that was especially true of a genius on true immortal Jioki's level. They needed a flawless Dao heart. He had to personally defeat Long Chen. That was true of true immortal Jioki, as well as Pill Valley's Huo Liyun and the corrupt path's Zai Luo. The 3 of them were all looking for a chance to kill Long Chen. Then let's fight. What's so special about the gambling heavenly Tao? I'll still kill you. True immortal Jioki's aura suddenly changed. His manifestation began to rumble. Wait a moment. Just as true immortal Jioki was about to attack, a figure appeared in front of him, stopping him. Valley Master, true immortal Jioki, was startled to see that Xuanhuan had personally come here, but he quickly realized it was just a clone. Having stopped true immortal Jioki, Xuanhuan turned to Hu Feng. The gambling heavenly Tao has already been gone from the continent for thousands of years. Now that someone has appeared carrying on its legacy, it seems that marvelous geniuses are rising on the continent. I wouldn't dare to accept your praise, said Hu Feng calmly. Xuanhuan smiled. Young people need vitality and motivation. That's the only way to bring growth to the martial heaven continent. However, the current continent is filled with chaos due to Long Chen. Everyone is worried about what he will plot next to overthrow the martial heaven continent. That's why all brave warriors are answering the call in this desperate crisis, fighting to slay the devil to restore order to the continent. As the heir of the gambling heavenly Tao, you are also an important member of the martial heaven continent. Even not viewing things from the viewpoint of the continent, I feel like when it comes to the competition between heavenly geniuses, Long Chen should be your enemy instead of a stranger you don't care about. Was he really trying to pull Hu Feng into targeting Long Chen? Everyone heard the double meanings in Xuanhuan's words. The current continent was in chaos, with Pill Valley pushing the waves. However, they pushed the responsibility onto Long Chen. As a result, countless fools who weren't aware of the truth really believed Long Chen to be a fiend, and that whoever killed Long Chen would be the savior of the continent. Sometimes, the power of the ignorant could be extremely terrifying. Like an infection, their stupidity would run rampant throughout the world. Other than some smarter people, or people with more information who were able to retain cool heads, many people had been affected by this public opinion. Pill Valley was currently boosting their support. They pushed Long Chen into the position of the villain, making all cultivators view him as an enemy. This truth was already almost set in stone. The stories of Long Chen's evil deeds were rapidly spreading, and it was difficult to tell the truth from falsehood. Valley Master's praise is too much. The gambling heavenly Tao does not interfere with the rest of the world. We gamble against the heavens, not fight people. If it weren't for this person's words being too difficult to bear, I wouldn't have interfered. I'm not friends with Long Chen, nor am I enemies with him. I have nothing to do with his matters. The gambling heavenly Tao's disciples prefer to be free and unrestrained. Valley Master, this little one still has things to do, so I'll take my leave first. Hu Feng tactfully declined Yu Zion's suggestion, or perhaps it should be said he had bluntly refused his invitation. Clearly, Yu Zion had been trying to pull him into their camp. Yu Zion seemed to have expected this refusal, and he indifferently smiled. People have their own wills, things can't be forced, but I trust that when the calamity descends and all lives are in trouble, you won't stand by the side. Hu Feng replied with a smile that said nothing. Cupping his fists, he said, "Goodbye." Hu Feng walked away. The die behind him once more began to slowly spin, and he vanished from sight. "Valley Master, why didn't you let me kill him?" demanded true immortal Jioki. "The gambling Heavenly Tao's disciples aren't so easy to kill. Trust me, his power is definitely not weaker than Long Chen's. It might even be greater. The name of the 50-50 win isn't for nothing. Let alone you, even if my true body came, I might not be able to hold him against his will. That's the power of the gambling Heavenly Tao," said Yu Zioyan. You don't believe it? Then let me put it this way. You might be able to defeat him, but you have no chance of killing him. He would get away, and then you would have pushed him to Long Chen's side. It's not worth it to provoke such a terrifying enemy with limitless potential. Then what are we supposed to do? Just let Long Chen keep getting away. Be patient. Time will let you slowly obtain many things. You're only a bit off from fully awakening your manifestation. That's the more pressing thing. As for Long Chen, don't worry, he and his Dragon Blood Legion will become your stepping stones in the end, said Yu Zioan before vanishing. Although he was very unwilling, true immortal Jioki didn't dare to talk back. He endured his fury. Shouting an order at the 9-colored celestial horse, he flew away in the kill-in battle carriage, vanishing from sight. Even once he was gone, the world continued to rumble for a long time. The news of this battle quickly spread throughout the world. The heir of the gambling Heavenly Tao had finally fought in public, and his fighting style was shocking. He had actually managed to suppress true immortal Jioki. However, they had both just been probing each other, and the decisive fight had been interrupted by Yu Zioan. No one could really say which of the two was stronger. People finally had some understanding of the heir of the gambling Heavenly Tao. He was another peak expert who was definitely on the same level as Long Chen, Mo Nian, Dai Feng, Zai Luo, and true immortal Jioki. As for Huo Lian, many people had already kicked him from those rankings because he had been defeated by Long Chen in the Life Star realm, and his physical body had been destroyed. Everyone knew that he would no longer be able to exist in the world of heavenly geniuses. This battle had ended with no victor, but Hu Feng's name gradually grew even more resounding on the martial heaven continent. Long Chen didn't know that true immortal Jioki had appeared right after he had left, nor did he know about his fight with Hu Feng. He was currently sitting on top of a cliff, with Evil Moon stabbed into the stone beside him. He was calmly looking at the surging river down below. It was unknown what he was thinking. If you want to say something, then say it. You've been sitting here for 6 hours. Finally, Evil Moon broke the silence. Long Chen's killing intent had vanished after leaving the eastern Xuanhuan city. He had gone silent, not saying a single thing the whole time. Evil Moon, tell me the truth. Am I very strange? Evil Moon was silent for a moment before saying, I felt like you were very strange at first, but I got used to it, or maybe I also turned strange. Long Chen shook his head. Actually, I feel like I'm really two people. How did you know? Because there is another set of memories deep within my soul, constantly influencing me. Long Chen looked into the distance, not noticing Evil Moon's tone. Actually, I was just some run-down noble son, not much different from a commoner on the streets. I never thought to be a hero or some savior of the world. I just wanted to live a peaceful life, carefree and without worries, growing old in the wilderness. I'm actually very lazy and evil. I like to con people, I like to scheme, but I also have another set of thoughts deep within my soul influencing me. It's forcing me to face my difficulties like an idiot, making me jump into fire and blades. I can no longer tell if it's that other will influencing me or if I was always like this before. Perhaps you have a split personality. Many life forms have that, especially your human race. It's not so strange. So tell me, if you clearly know that you're going to die by going, will you still go? Asked Evil Moon. I'm going. If I didn't go, I wouldn't be Long Chen. Long Chen looked down at the surging river, his voice set.